All right, we alive. We alive, baby. We are alive right now. So what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava Club podcast. You guys already know who I am. My name is Will. I'm the host of this show. I'm fired up today. I'm really fired up today. I'm really excited. I have a very special guest, baby. Special guest all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, and she is a future pilot. Top Gun was my favorite movie, by the way. So, so when she told me she was a pilot, oh my God, I had some flashbacks to my childhood memories. But anyways, but for everybody out there watching this for the first time, please show some love, show some support, like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, everybody out there that's been supporting me, that's been watching, been subscribing. Mad love and mad love to all you guys out there. Show me all the love and support, and you guys inspire me to keep doing this and keep going. So I'm mad love to all you guys. But I'm fired up with this podcast. I'm gonna get back to my guest. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. So it's all you. Go ahead.
Thank you. First, I just want to say thank you so much, Will, for this opportunity. I think what you're doing is great. This podcast stuff it's amazing for our community, our Pacific Islander community. And with that being said, I am Sia, the one and only Sia Eveni. I'm 23 years old. I am full Samoan, and I reside in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Let's go. For sure. Vegas, baby. But like I said, Sia, once again, thank you. I'm very grateful for taking the time to do this. Very appreciate your help and support. Thank you so much for coming in and tuning in on this show for me. But let's fire it up. Let's get this Jets. Fired up these Jets. All right. So the very first question I'm going to ask you is, how did you grow up?
So how did I grow up? What a story. All right. So I was born in the Bay Area, Hayward, and I was raised on and off there. Mm-hmm. I spent some of my early years out in the Bay Area, and then when I turned about 10, my dad, he decided that he wanted to move us back to American Samoa. And at the time, I was so young, I was like, in my mind, we were going on vacation and then we were going to come right back, So, but no, he had to sit me down. And, my dad, he was a well-educated, all-rounded guy. Like, he was super intelligent. He was like a financial analyst. And he was making like 5 figures. Like, my dad was really, like, we were well off. Like, he didn't show it in the way we dressed or the way we lived. We didn't show it. We didn't have that rich lifestyle, but he was definitely, he used the money wisely, as far as keeping us fed and putting clothes on our backs and having, light in our house. Like he made sure we were good. But at the age of 10, he decided he wanted to leave all of that and, pursue his life in the Word of God and go into the ministry. Mm-hmm. And so at the time I was like, okay, yeah, like, let's do that. Let's go ahead. And I know our grandparents would want that. I know our families would want that. Like, and at such a young age, he's just like, you don't understand like what you're going to get into once we get there. And I'm like, yes, I do. Like, it's like Hawaii, like, cause I've never been there,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like Hawaii. We're going on vacation for a long time. And he's like, oh no, it's not. Like, you're in for a treat. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. And we finally took off and we got to the island, and it was like, I walked off and I was like, where's the airport? Like, it was so different. And I was like, what is he, like, where are we? It was hot as heck. I had mosquito bites all over me. And I was just like, not feeling it. I was like, I don't know how to feel about this, Dad. And he was just like, well, this is what I told you we were going to do. Like, we're going to stay out here now, and this is how we're going to live our lifestyle. Like, it's going to be very different from when you were in the mainland. And I was like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And he put me in school and we had uniforms, and I was like, what the heck are these? Like,
yeah, uniforms.
I don't understand. Like, it was such a culture shock for me.
Yeah.
As being from the States, and just being like brought up, I'm gonna consider myself spoiled, because even though I didn't have it like that, my dad made sure I had it like that. If at midnight I wanted Jack in the Box, he will go and get me some Jack in the Box. So he made sure I was like in a sense spoiled. I had what I needed to have or what I wanted to have at the time. So like going to American Samoa, it was just like it's like there's just one McDonald's. There's no Jack in the Box there. I was like, there's no Jacks. We ain't got none of that here. And then I go to the house and like there's open, like there's these we call it faleos or fale samoas. They're like these little open rounded houses
Yeah.
with holes in
Yep.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
No,
Yeah.
there's no doors or
There's
anything. I'm
this-
like, what's that? He's like, oh, that's the house. And I'm like, excuse me, what? Where's the door? No, there's no doors, there's no windows. Where's the shower? Oh my god, the shower. There's showers outside. Like
outside, wide open, huh?
yes, it was such a culture shock, man. It was, but you know what? Just like that first year that went by, I think that was the only time I was like I felt so ungrateful and I was just like unappreciative
Yeah.
of my of where I was, my ancestors were brought up,
Mhm.
and so just like experiencing that first year, it definitely humbled me because I got real good friends and family members that I still keep in touch with that I met and just grew, these really good connections and bonds with that, came to realize that they're so content, they're so joyful with this lifestyle. And here I was back in the mainland, just like envious of other kids and other people who had all the things that I wanted, and these kids and these people are perfectly fine without it. And I'm just like, damn, Sia, like really, you just it definitely changed my perspective on life. It changed my
Mhm.
perspective on my people, and then the whole Samoan cultures, where we would do these like big falavelavas where we would go and like the chief. So like if there's a new chief, we got to do this whole giving mats thing, and I was what is this? Like, I'm just sitting
Mhm.
there inside, and my grandpa's like, you got to go and do all that stuff. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm going back. I was just so embarrassed,
Yeah.
and it took me a year to like settle down and realize like, Sia, this is where your roots are. This, and you have to learn it and understand it. Cause I was such a like whitewashed Samoan. I'm not even gonna lie. I was yeah. But and I didn't speak the language. I didn't speak the Samoan language at all until I
Yeah.
got, and right now it's like it's all right, but like I understand more now than I did ever, in the
Yeah.
past. But it was so humbling to actually, just be around people who were less fortunate than I was. And, to come from, my dad being so high, that's what taught me another valuable lesson was that and you know what? It's crazy too. Sorry, I keep like going back and forth, but
You good.
my dad, he had, that job that I told you, my grandma, she had passed away, and that's what motivated him to go to Samoa and
Mhm.
work in the ministry. And she had told him too, she was like, before she passed, she was just like, there's no better job than serving God. And he took that to heart when when
Mhm.
she said that. And he literally said, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna leave all of this and go and do that because that's definitely something I want to do and pursue. And when she passed, like all of a sudden, like he started getting all of these job offers and all of these like really good opportunities for like higher paying jobs. Like he would have had made bank, like real
Yeah.
bank,
Yeah.
more than what he was making before. These all came to him at the time he was already deciding to go to Samoa to
Yeah.
change, you know? And so for that to have happened like that, I was like, you really turned down all of this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It really humbled me because he was like, of course, like that wasn't, and I was telling him, like I was like, that was probably grandma's blessing to you, because
Mhm.
elders blessings
Yeah.
to
It's real.
that's the biggest thing in the world, that's like that's God's gift to us, because that's
Mhm.
really all we care about in this community, in our Pacific Islander community. Any blessing from an elder is just like, I thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciate that, and I'm so grateful. So in my eyes, when that happened for him, I was like, you just missed out on your blessing. And he's like, no, Sia, like that was a test of faith. That would, to me, that's a test of faith. And you have to have real heart. You have to have real understanding of what it is to get into your keep your faith. And when he turned all that down to go and serve God, like we left everything. We left everything. Like why I literally went to Samoa with just like 2 big suitcases of nothing but clothes. And like my mom gave one whole suitcase away to all my other siblings and nephews and nieces. And I was like, dang, I wore the same like outfit for like months. And I was like, this is crazy. She's like, you have to understand, Sia, these kids have been wearing the same clothes since they were 2. Like they
Yeah.
have nothing. And like it just like I didn't see it that way
Hmm.
until later on. Like
Yeah.
it took me months and years to realize this is why that happened for him, you know. And it ended up being a greater and bigger and better blessing for my dad to have done that, because he gained so much more than money, than the new house, than all the new car. Like he gained so much more. And it was a blessing in disguise for me to just kind of look at it that way, because I was just super grateful, because here I was, just this ungrateful person before, just didn't want to know nothing about the culture. And now I was like, I'm very intrigued, I'm very interested, like I want to know why we're doing the things we're doing as Samoans. Why do we have to do that stuff? Why do we have chiefs? Like, what are villages? Why don't we have cities? Like, why is there only one road that takes you instead of freeways? Like, I wanted yeah, I was so curious. I was a very curious little girl. And it wasn't until I reached high school that's when everything started to like come together for me, and I started making sense of things. And just the way our Samoan people were brought up, it definitely it made me super proud, and I had so much pride in just being who I am. And just to find out that my family came with like empty pockets and nothing but life to live and love to give. I was like, you know what? This is where I'm trying to be. My state of mind, I'm trying to be this happy. I'm not trying to be like materialistic happy. And I did. I ended up, my dad was like, you have to see things in a different way. And I did. I'm so grateful that I learned the Samoan culture, and I was able to, just learn why and how we do the traditions that we do. And I went on and off island to go back to Cali. I went to Cal State Hayward for a little bit, and that was whew, that was something else, because being a pastor's kid,
Yeah.
very hard, because you have all these people who are looking up to you. They have high expectations of you
Yeah.
as a minister's child, and it's hard for us because we're like, I'm trying to live my best life, and you
Yeah.
guys are
No.
like, this is who and whose daughter, she makes sure she's not out late past 8.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go eat some dinner with the friends and then come home, like
Yeah.
do nothing. And because of that, my parents were super strict, and
Yeah.
that's, I had a lot of friends, in Samoa. I had a lot of friends, and they all got to go out. I couldn't, because I'm
Yeah.
a pastor's kid, and they have
Yeah.
PK, for pastor's kid. And so like everyone will call me a PK. They're like, oh, there's God,
Damn.
but yeah, so my parents were super strict of me going out and stuff like that, which led to me being rebellious.
Yeah. I got it's always like that. The pastor's kids are always rebellious.
Oh my god, man.
Always
I'm telling
rebellious.
you, people when they say we're the worst, I mean, we're not living up to that name, but
Yeah.
we were bad. Some of us weren't, some of them, angelic, and I'm like the total opposite. Oh my god, my dad's turning in his grave right now. I'm talking about this. But I was a rebel, because I didn't like the fact that people saw me, they wanted,
Yeah.
they had high expectations of me. They saw me a certain way that I just didn't want to, be. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm me at the end of the day. Like, you have
Yeah.
to accept that.
You didn't want that pressure. Like, you can't be like, yeah, too much pressure. Like, yeah.
It was so much pressure on me. And I'm like, I don't know how all the other PKs do it, but like,
Yeah.
I wanted to live my life at such a
Yeah.
young. I couldn't even go out like after school to hang out with friends. I literally, it's school then home, but I never listened, I was just like, I'm just gonna give me 30 minutes and I'll go home. So yeah, I never listened, and that led to a lot of beatings. Oh my god. Whew. Love my mama, but yeah, whooped me. So yeah, like and that just only fueled it for me. Like I know some kids are like, oh, I'm so scared of my mom and dad. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
be anymore, so I'm not gonna do it. And here I am, like, so excited, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna sneak out, and like by the time I get back, they won't know, but they're already there waiting with the steak and stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, here's another night of fun. So, I think it was different. I was different. I was very rebellious, and I didn't really have care for it, and
Yeah.
I think that's the reason. I think being titled a PK was the reason that made me feel that way.
Yeah.
It could be any other kid who was getting beat, and they really, they don't, it's not like people look at them and talk about them at church.
Yeah.
And then there's me, like, oh, Sia got beat up because she did this and she did that. And I'm just like, it fueled up so much in me that I wasn't really much of a talker. I never talked about my problems. Like, me doing this podcast,
Yeah.
really, like, unreal, because I've never talked about anything like to no one. This recently just like came out and about because like I said, I went to Cal State Hayward, and when that happened, oh man, I was staying with my aunt in San Jose because I was commuting. The first year I was living in the dorms, and that didn't work out. I didn't, like, I don't know. I had too much freedom, is what my family said. Because I just, like, I did everything that I wasn't supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
College, like, and because all of high school I was with my parents.
Yeah.
The only thing bad that I've ever done with them is like sneak out to go and do and hang out with my friends. That's
Yeah.
the worst thing I've ever done, because I feared if I did something worse, I would get kicked out, or something
Yeah.
would happen to me. I wouldn't live to see another day. So when college came around, it was literally my first night in college. I was moving into the dorm. My aunt from San Jose, she helped me move into my dorm room.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we had this big block party, and like, my roommates were like, oh, let's go to the block party. And I was like, oh, what's that? Like, is it gonna be downstairs? And they're like, no, 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 it's like across the dorm. And I was like, okay. So I go, and like, everyone's drinking and smoking, and I'm like, well, I'm on my own now,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's do it. So I literally, the first night, that was like my literal first, that was literally my first time ever having alcohol.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever, like, just smoked a tree and whatnot. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this like on the
No,
podcast.
you good. You good.
Okay.
You good. Oh.
Yeah, so I did all of it. I did literally tried, all the things that I wasn't supposed to try. And I
Yeah.
woke up, what's funny? I woke up the next morning, I cried. I was like,
The guilt.
yeah. I cried and I prayed to God. I was like, no, I'm dead ass.
No, I can see that happening. I can see that happening.
I literally cried my whole morning, and I was like, I'm gonna go to class, and I'm just gonna, do what I'm supposed to be doing. But like, it just, like, the fact that I had no one to supervise me was
Mhm.
so weird, and I was just like, this really means I'm on my own. I can do what I want to do. So I definitely went, and it got worse. It got worse. The drinking, the smoking, the living my best life, it got worse. The not attending classes. I literally skipped all my classes at Cal State Hayward. It was really bad. Like, and it's really because I just felt all this freedom, and no one prepped me for it because I was such a rebellious child. I know my dad tried, like, all the time. He tried to, but he told me, like, at the end of the day, you're gonna reap what you sow, Sia. Like, if you go against what me and mom are telling you,
Yeah.
you're what you sow. And I always told him, I'm like, yeah, I get you, but God's gonna bless me. Yeah, I always went against my parents' word, because in my head, I'm gonna prove them wrong. So
Yeah.
I always told myself, I'm gonna prove you wrong. That was always my mentality, was I'm gonna prove you wrong. I didn't care what people said about me. I didn't care how people saw me. I was, at the end of the day, I was gonna succeed in my life. So that was what I was going to prove to my parents. So going Cal State Hayward was already an accomplishment in itself, because I was in college. I made it into college. I honestly thought I wasn't going to get into a college, because yeah, because high school was a trip. I was terrible. I don't know how I graduated, but going to college, it was different. And my dad, he would email me and ask me, like, how are you doing your classes? And I would lie and be like, oh, well, we just had a big pop quiz and just got to study. I like they would always call me, to check up, but I never answered. And it's hard too because like my parents didn't know how to use the internet,
Hmm.
so like they would only try to call, and like FaceTime didn't exist at the time. I
Yeah.
don't Yeah. So he was just like trying to reach out to me the best way he could to see how I'm doing. And here I am avoiding their calls and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was really out here trying to live my life and then see if I could succeed and prove them wrong. But I was doing it in my own time.
Yeah.
And that led to something really big because after that, after me failing, my first semester in college, my parents saw and they were just like, we need you to stay with Auntie in San Jose. She
Yeah.
has someone to supervise you. And so I was like, what the, like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm in college now.
Yeah.
Don't need
Yeah.
to worry. Like, just I'm grown, you know. They're just like, no, you gotta stay. And that like that ticked me off. I was just like, man, like I still being like 17, 18, I still gotta like, be babysitted.
Yeah.
I still have to be supervised.
Yeah.
And so that I didn't argue with my parents. Like like I said, I hold things at the time I was holding things in and
Yeah.
I never expressed how I felt. I
Yeah.
never like any emotion towards like my parents or anything. Only when I would like act out like rebelliously, but I never like would act in in an angry way to them. I wouldn't
Yeah. Yeah.
do it, and I'll be like, all right, whatever. But in the back of my mind, I'm saying like all these things.
We all do. We all
Right.
do.
So my second semester, I moved to San Jose. I was commuting from San Jose to go to college, and that was a trip. That year was terrible because I was about 18, 17, 18, and I was my aunt. I'm named after her, and
Hmm.
so people always say you're just like your namesake. And when they say that, it's because I'm hard headed. I'm very hard headed. I'm very stubborn, and so is she. And
Yeah.
so me living with her, like people were just like, this is gonna be a bad. And then
Clash.
yeah, they were saying that they're like, this is gonna be terrible. Like my dad was like, or my other auntie, their sister was telling my dad like, are you sure you want her to stay there with her? And like he's like, yeah, she'll be okay. She has to, she needs to go to school. And so when I did that, when I stayed with her, it was trouble. Like I had to take the train to school and BART. I had to take the train and the BART to school. And like she had kids. I have my little two cousins that I had to watch. I had to babysit them like whenever she would go to work. And then it got to the point where I couldn't really go to school anymore because she needed me to babysit her kids. And so when that happened, I had to take online classes instead. So I had to switch over and take online classes. And it got harder and harder and harder for me because she also didn't want me to work. Like she didn't want me to get a job because she needed me to watch the kids and like she needed me to do all her errands before I could do mine.
Yeah.
And for me, it was hard. And like I said, I didn't show emotions or feelings because I don't know how to act like when
Yeah.
it came out. I don't know how I'm gonna react to it. So I just did it. I did what she told me to do. But at the same time, she's like constantly like, why aren't you focusing on school? Like why aren't you doing schoolwork right now? Why are you failing your classes? And I'm like, girl, because you just told me watch your kids. I did all my classes for you. But nothing came out. I just held it in. And it got to a point where it was building and building and building to where I just went to school and I had a friend that I was close to and she was staying at the dorms at the time. And I just like we just all the stuff that I was doing my first year, I started doing again with her. And it got worse and worse and worse by the day because I would go do that, come home to her, and get, yelled at for
Yeah.
whatever and just have to babysit. And it's just like all this was stressful to me.
Yeah.
And my parents would call and I like tell them what's going on because I don't know what they're gonna say. I feel like they're gonna side with her. Like everything's a question mark to me because I don't know if I say something, are they gonna push
Yeah.
me I want to the side or are they gonna hear me out?
Yeah.
So just going through all that, it led to a point in time where I would take her car out. I snuck out with her car a lot. And yeah, I would go to like freaking San Mateo and It was a lot. I took her car and she finally caught up with me taking it and she was like, "Yeah, I don't know like what your issue is." She never hit me or nothing, but
Yeah.
like her words were enough to get me so fueled up that I would like cry because I would tear up because I'm literally not saying anything. Like I'm just like, see us like, and she'll tell me too. She's like, "Do you want to say something? Like spit it out." And I'm just like, "No, I'm good."
Yeah.
Like just leave it as is. And it got to a point where me and her got into this really big argument. It was a really, really big argument. And I felt like, this is it. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna put up with this anymore. And I
Hmm.
said this to myself. And I was like, I wrote my brother because my brother was in Samoa with my parents. And so I texted him or I DM'd him on Twitter, I think. And I was just like, hey, bro, I just want you to know that I really love you and I care for you. And like, just know, don't tell mom and dad or anyone in our family, but I'm just going to run away. And
Yeah.
he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just going to go because I can't, like, you don't understand the stress that I'm in right now. I have to play like three different roles. And I want to live my best life and succeed, but I can't do it right now. So I'm going to go and try to do it on my own. And he was like, like, okay, like, just being a brother. He's like, I love
Yeah.
you. And, I got your back for whatever. And, please keep in contact with me. Like, please, please, please. Like, if you don't keep in contact with no one else, just keep in contact with me. And I told myself, like, yeah, of course, like, he's my brother. You're the only one I'm going to talk to from here on out. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, man, I'm really going to do this. Like, I really told myself, I was like, I'm going to do this. So I packed hella clothes in my backpack and I took, like my phone and stuff and that was the day I said goodbye to her. I'm gonna go to class, and I went to school, and I was with my friend at her dorm, and I never went back. And
Yeah.
when that happened, and I turned my phone off and everything because I knew that she was gonna
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
I turned my phone off and everything, and I stayed at my friend's dorm for like a whole week. And I didn't read anything on my phone until like day 4 of the whole week. And when I did, there was all these like I turned it on and all these like text messages from everyone, people in Samoa, like my friends and family from Samoa are reaching out to me. I find
Yeah.
out my mom made a Twitter account just to like see my mom's
Yeah.
posting. Oh my god! And like everyone's looking for me, like, and
Yeah.
you can't report me missing, I guess, because I'm already 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're just like, yeah, you just got to find her on her own. Maybe she's just at the college, with some friends or whatever. And so everyone's looking for me at this time, and I'm literally at the school with my friend in her dorm, just like big chilling.
Yeah.
I felt in my head that is something I just like I didn't want to be around anyone. Like I just wanted to be by myself in my own mental state to try to heal and calm and get all this anger that was fueled up and like inside of me that I never let out, if that would help me get it out.
Yeah.
So when I did that, um I finally reached out to one of my aunties in Sacramento. She's that's my auntie right there. Like she's like second mom to me. And then she hit me up and I told her, if I'm gonna come to you, but don't tell anyone that I'm coming to you. But I want to
Yeah.
come talk. And I was gonna tell her everything that was building up inside of me because
Yeah.
there was so much going on in my life that it was like I didn't know where to think. I didn't know what to do.
Hmm.
Cause in my mind, I just wanted to, I wanted to prove people wrong. And there was so many people lining up that I had to prove wrong
Hmm.
that I was just like, damn, this is too much to handle. This is too much, stress. And so my auntie who was in Sacramento, she was like, just come and share everything. And so I was like, all right, for sure. So not my roommate, my friend who was living in the dorm, she drove me out there. We went all the way to Sac, and like I sat down with my aunt and I told her like, I don't know what the problem is with me, but there's so much anger inside that I can't get out and I don't know why. And
Hmm.
like she's like, you have to start from the stem. You have to start from the root of it all. And I was just like, I don't know where the root is. And like she's like, yeah, I didn't, because that's how hard headed I was.
Yeah.
All I cared about was proving every single person wrong. That's all I cared about. And he was just like, well, just tell me, what happened. Tell me everything from the beginning. And so I did. And she was like, Sia, you, that's the problem. Like, you want people to be wrong about you, and you don't want to tell them nothing. You want to prove it to them. You want to show it to them, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't do that without talking. You can't do that without communicating with them,
Yeah.
because they need you to do stuff like this. And I was like, what did I do wrong? Like in my head, I was like, I just like, I needed some days to like mentally drain out whatever it is
Yeah.
that was going on in my head. Cause like it would like, I understand there are people who like go through stuff like that in even worse situations, and it leads them to do things like, that are uncalled for, that are unnecessary. And like for me, that was never my intention. It's just when all that builds up in me, I'm like, don't talk to me, because I'll black out. I will black out. Like I don't care what I'm at, where I'm at. I might do things that cause like drinking or whatever till I black out. But she was like, no, like it could be a real issue. Like you just don't see that because you're in your head, it's not happening the way, it's not happening that way. But that could be a real issue, Sia. And I was like, I don't know. Like, and then now here I am trying to prove her wrong about the mental. Like I was just like, I don't know about that, Auntie. And she's like, Sia, it's a real issue. Like, yeah, I think, that you have like maybe mental health issues or whatever. And I was like, oh, like I prayed on it that night, but in my head, I was like, everyone's wrong. I just had
Yeah.
that mentality, like everyone's wrong about me. But they were actually right. Like she was right. I did have like issues with my mental health, and it wasn't like it was caused by me. Like I was the one who like I went and got diagnosed, and they were just like, yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just like you're so filled up with stress and anxiety that you don't see that you're doing this to yourself. And I was like, oh, well, like how am I doing it to myself? And they're like, you're stubborn. Like you're really stubborn, and you just like you need to stop or just tone it down a bit with like how you want to present yourself to people, and how you want to people to view you. And also you need to talk to people. Like you really need to communicate. And if you don't do that, then you're just going to be at square one, like where you wanted to when you decided to run away and lock people, just lock everyone out for 4 to 5 days. That's not healthy for your mental state. And I was like, oh damn, well I never saw it that way, because in my head it's healthy.
Yeah.
So that all happened, and I was just like, man, well, where do I go from here? And he was like, you got to talk to people. You really got to open up to your family, and sit down with them, and whatever issues you are going, that are going on with you in your life, you got to step up and say something to people. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I guess I'll try it there. And like my family, my parents, at that time, they were just like, yeah, it's time for you to come back to Samoa. And I was like,
Yeah.
like it was a bittersweet feeling, because I did want to go home, because I felt more myself just being there. And it was just, I was happy that they told me I was coming home. But at the same time, it's like, no, I'm still here hard-headed. Like no, I want to still prove you. No, that, yeah, I was like, I still want to prove you wrong. Like if I go back, you're gonna be like, I told you so. But and I was so hard-headed. I was so stubborn. But when I did go back, I had this long talk with my mom and dad, and
Yeah.
they were like, Sia, like, just tell us, like, what is it? And so I was just like, it's me, I guess, because I really just like, I understand you guys brought me up the way I am as a PK. I have all these goals and aspirations in life, and I want to succeed in them. But there's all these people looking at me, and they're just like, she's gonna be able to succeed in that. And so that, just having that, even for my dad, like my dad, man, he showed tough love to me, man. Like like my early years, he was so soft on me. But like high school, going into college, he really, like, his way of motivating me was to put me down. And
Yeah.
I think that's the reason I was so like hard-headed, because
Yeah.
say all these things like, you're not going to make it if you do stuff like that. So you're like, why, if you can't succeed now in high school, what makes you think you're going to succeed in college? Like those
Yeah.
kinds of words of, it was just,
Yeah. You kind of pushed you away from everybody.
yeah. That's why I was like, damn, man, like, you know what, dad, I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah.
He told me, I went into the military for some time. It was funny. So Navy, they had this like recruitment happening. This was literally my last, yeah, I was a senior in high school. and they were telling me, you should join or whatever, just how they are, the recruiters. And I was like, nah, I'm cool. And then I told my dad about it. He was like, no, I don't think you should do that because, you don't know how to handle military. If you can't handle hard parents, then what makes you think
Yeah.
you hard, the military? And I was like, damn, bro, like you really, discouraging me. And so when I went back to Samoa and I had that talk with my parents, um, he really was like, he really discouraged me, and it made me go and talk to a Navy recruiter. Like I was like, yeah, because I thought it was gonna help me like build my mental state, and for some reason it just made me even more hard headed. And I went out and I talked to a Navy recruiter, and I told my dad, I was like, I'm on that first plane back to Hawaii to get my physical done, and I'm gonna join the Navy. He was like, what? I was like, yeah. And he was like, what are you doing, Sia? Like, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like,
Mhm.
and that was my main goal, was just to prove people wrong. Like I really, that was such a big deal for me. You have no idea. And I told him, I was like, I'm just gonna show you that I can do the military. And I went in, and like before I left for boot camp, he had told me like, I hope you know that I'm proud of you regardless, and you don't have to prove anybody wrong. You really don't. And like I was sitting at the airport in tears, and I'm like, you want to tell me all this now? Like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
on a plane and just, he was like, you said this is what you really wanted to do. And I was like, I wanted to prove people wrong. He's like, prove who wrong? Like, Sia, you can do whatever you want to do in this life. It doesn't matter what me or your mom say, like whoever, it's what you want to do at the end of the day. And you have to understand that I'm trying to build you up for success. Whatever words I'm saying to you. And I'm sorry that I'm showing you discouragement, but being brought up the way I was, because his parents were super hard on him, and all it dates all the way back. I was hoping that I would do the same to you, because obviously if I would go soft on you, then you're just gonna do whatever you want. And that's not what I want for you. So then I decided, okay, I don't want to do the military. It was terrible, man. I went to boot camp, and I had told them like they told me, I think it was like a blessing in disguise, because I had like stress fractures in my tibia. So they
Yeah.
told me I had to like go and then come back for reenlistment like 6 months. Within those 6 months, I was like, nah, I'm cool. I don't want to even go back for reenlistment. But my dad was like, do what you really want to pursue. Like me and my dad got super more communicative within
Mhm.
that time frame. Like he was just like, it wasn't words of discouragement anymore. He was just like building me up, because he knew at the time that I wanted to get into aviation. That was always the goal, like just to get into aviation. I just never seen it, because I'm all stuck here trying to prove people wrong with the things that I do. I tried everything in my life. I like freaking I was a waitress, and my cousin was like, you can't even wait tables. And I was like, let me prove you wrong then. And like, I did all the things that people, were just like, you will never amount to nothing in. I did the military, and like, I would have graduated if I didn't have the stress fractures. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to, live my best life and do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's, aviation. So he was like, you should do it then. And like, it just like, I miss our talks, me and my dad, because he would
Mhm.
always, clown on me. And I think those were his ways of like discouraging me, but in a
Yeah.
better,
It's like
form.
it's like it's like he uses like reverse psychology on you.
Yeah, and I was like, who is this guy now all of a sudden?
he puts
Like,
he puts you down so that way you can go and do the
exactly,
opposite of what.
he really did. He really did. And it helped me so much, because after that, I was more open to talk to, my family about things that are happening in my life. Like my
Mhm.
mom, like I went through some like relationship sneakiness. Like I'm pretty sure everyone's have their stories where they would sneak
Yeah.
out with boyfriend, girlfriend. But yeah, my mom would beat my ass, and she was really disappointed in me. And like my dad had to sit her down and be like, she's opening up to us now. Because I did tell her, I was like, I just sneak out, and she's like, what the hell? Go get
Yeah.
the go get. And I'm like, oh my god, this is why I don't open up to y'all. Yeah. And then my dad was just like, you gotta be like, she's literally, she's growing up, and she's understanding now that we need to talk and be more communicative. And like my aunt San Jose, man, I give her so much props for like putting up with me. But at the same time, we're both hard headed. So it's like I apologized to her when I came back to the mainland. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm really, really sorry for putting you through all this stuff, the stress and just all that stuff. And she was like, no, I'm sorry, Sia. Like I had no idea. And it was because you were so good at hiding it. And I really was. No one could tell that I was going through some stress in my life or anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
No one could tell because I was so good at hiding it. And that's exactly what she said. That when she said that, I was like, damn, you right. Like no one could have known that I was
Mm-hmm.
going. And she was like, so yeah, I'm really sorry, Sia. I'm glad that you opened up to me. And I was like, I am too, and like that got me to a really good point in my life now because any problems that are going on in my family with me or whoever, I'm vocal. I'm super vocal now. I'm just
Yeah.
like, that shouldn't happen because in my eyes, I'm super vocal. And even though it's like, it's kind of like disrespectful sometimes because like the elders, I'll have my aunts and uncles on the table and we'll all be talking about, whatever happened to, this person at church. And I'm just like, well, why do you guys say that? You're like, why? I'm over here. And they're like, who are you to introduce? This is a
Yeah.
conversation, Sia.
Yeah.
I just want to put my input there. And like, we all start talking and laughing and they're just like, okay, we see your side, Sia, we see your side. So I'm grateful now that I'm able to, be vocal and speak out about things that I wasn't able to do at first. And I honestly, it was just me, and I had to really break that shell, and I was able to, and now I'm just like, I won't stop talking to anyone. I was not this talkative back then, but here I am.
Oof. Yeah, that's a life story right there.
It's a lot, like.
No, so just listening to your story, it's crazy. Like a lot of things you share, like I'm gonna do that in my own life. Especially when it comes to like hiding things, you know. Right. No, it's funny. It's like for me, just looking back, my own childhood, like I've never had a one-on-one conversation with my parents where I really expressed to them like how I really felt.
Yeah.
That I've never had that conversation. Even to this day, I've never. Now I'm open now, but so now I'm open to my parents. But I just remember growing up. Yeah, we've never sat down and then you already know every kid's going through something. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's kids are getting bullied at school. It's like there's a lot of things that happen to kids all the time, but we just never tell our parents at all. And then I kind of just I was just, the whole time you were sharing the story, I was just like laughing in my mind about all the stuff all the
All
stuff in my
memories.
all the memories, like, oh man, all the things I did, and just pretending like I and never told nobody, never told
Right.
nobody, right? So so I guess the first thing I want to bring up and talk about, because I feel like a lot of the issues that that we all go through, and a lot of the things that you went through, it's just not. I guess in our culture, it's not having that safe place to open up
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and so we can express ourselves, so we can have a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like I think that's a cultural thing because like, and I think you said something. I think you said something that was I wrote down in my notes. You said like your parents told you, like, I think it was your dad. You said that, look, I'm tough on you because this is the way I was raised, right?
Yep.
So I'm just trying to raise you the same way I was raised, right? And a lot of times, Polynesian parents, usually depending on anybody that's watching this, depending on your parent, we get that tough love.
Oh yeah. Oh
We get
yeah.
that tough love, and I think it's harder on girls and guys. I feel like they're
Oh
harder on. Yeah, I think they're because just looking back at my sisters, I mean my parents was, I mean I grew up with my grandma, but she was hard on me, but I noticed that she was harder on the girls, like
oh yeah.
like if I mess up, I'll get beat up, I'll get beat up, but I've seen it. But when the girls mess up, oh my god, like
Like, we just shown you.
like they get really sometimes I watch my female cousins or sisters get beaten. I'm like, oh my god, I'll be scared for them. Oh,
Oh my god.
I'm like I'll be scared for them for their life. But I think that's something. I think because I think a lot. If you're older parent or elder generation watching this, and I'm glad. I think there's a good topic that me and you can dive into. Is we, yeah, you number one, the elders have to understand that we grow up in a different culture and time, right? And they grew up in a different time, and a lot of our parents, they grew up in the islands, right? They grew up in the islands, so the culture and how everything is when they grew up is different from us in the mainland in America.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then one thing I always say is like the biggest struggle that we have as I think as kids is we go to school and we go to school and we see what the norm is. This is the normal lifestyle, what a kid should be. And then that's really, really hard for a kid to digest and understand because our parents is telling us we need to be like this, but then we go to school with the other kids and we see something different.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
So that's hard for like kids to understand. Okay, well, like I mean, all my friends are doing this, and this is the norm, you know. And we don't see, and of course, like we don't see there's nothing wrong with like hanging out with your friends after school,
Right.
you know. But I think that's the thing is I just want the parents is like they just a lot of our parents don't understand like there's a different dynamic of depending on where you live, especially in our generation, and then also you add on to it that there's no understanding, there's no like there's no especially because they're tough, they're very tough on us because that's how they're raised.
Yeah.
And usually Polynesian parents, you know, I think a lot of the issue is when there's a problem, the way they fix it is through discipline.
Oh,
All right. Right. And I'm not gonna lie, let's put it out there. I think some of us do need to get disciplined. I mean, there's some things we need to get our ass, you know. I do believe in discipline too. You know, I do believe in discipline too. So you know, sometimes we just need to get you know, we get our ass beat. But I feel like a lot of times, like, and I remember I had a podcast with one of my boys, Eli Matangi, a long time ago. He said that look, if you notice the reason why Polynesian kids lash out and they're always like you know being rebellious, all right, is because that's how we see when we deal with a problem from our parents. When there's a problem with our parents, like the first thing they do is they just hit us, you know. So that for us, we never develop the skill of talking things out. If that makes sense. So of course you add on to the fact that we grow up and then we don't because of the tough love and you know, and of course with our culture we can't speak up.
Yeah.
And then you add to the fact that you know when there's a problem, naturally we the way they solve it is just to you know either hardcore, they don't just put you like I said, put you down, or they're just disciplining. There's no like talking things out.
Yeah.
In the thing. So looking back, I want to ask you that question. If you look back at your childhood, do you feel like a lot of the things could have been solved that you went through if you guys sat down and just talked things out and you felt like you were safe enough to speak up?
Absolutely. Heck yeah. Because my mom, she was the disciplinary one.
Yeah.
And my dad, he was the put down one, you know,
and
acting on me and my brother. I'm just like,
well,
this isn't gonna resolve anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't work. So if we had done that from the get, you know, I feel I would have felt more comfortable, you know, from the very first beating. You know, they would you know, they try to there was one time where, you know, the beating was so hard where my mom my dad came and he was like, do you know why like mom beat you like that? And I was just like, because I was, you know, because I stuck out because I did what I did. And he was like, no, like because she loves you, like, and I was just like, okay, slow your roll. I was like,
oh, no. I've heard that before.
Yeah, right. You know, he's just like, no, like you really don't understand. So you're like, if she works so hard and you know to put all this, I'll give you all these things, and you take it for granted, you know, the way you're doing right now. And I don't mean to put you down, but you need to be taught a lesson, and that at the end of the day, that's all this is. It's a lesson for you, and we just want you to see that. And I was like, well, you guys could have just talked to us the way you're talking to me now, you know. And you know,
yeah, because I feel like I feel like a lot of I think that's the first reaction, and I realize that like there's a lot of things that if you just talk to the child and let them know, because I feel like whenever you discipline a child and you don't tell them the reason, and right, and of course, well, I also believe that if you make it if it's a natural thing, like you know, then the child will see it. Okay, if I do something wrong, I'm gonna get hit. right? So and then now like it just eliminates like the fact of the child to feel like okay, because I feel like that, when we make a mistake, we need to sit down and tell them okay why we made a mistake and what we can do to learn from it. But
Yeah.
because we don't have that conversation, right? That when we do something wrong, all we know is okay, I'm gonna get a beating, and then that just creates like a rebellious attitude because there's no discussion of why is this happening. All we know is okay, if I don't meet my parents' expectation, get disappointed, they're gonna beat me. All
Yes.
right, and then of course as a kid, we don't want to feel. I mean, no matter how bad you are as a kid, but at the end of the day, we love our parents, right? We don't want to disappoint them, right?
Yeah.
So if you never have a conversation with your child, right, then you know that saying like image is perception. Like
Yes.
if all you know if the only interaction with your parent, like as far as like the only close physical, I mean, intimate reaction of parent is just discipline, then that's all that kid knows is as from their parent. All my like the only time I get my parents does something to me or get close to me is when they hit me,
Yep.
and then that just becomes the relationship, right? Oh, and then all so so naturally we want to please our parents. Like I want to please my parent. I want them to be happy. I don't want to disappoint them,
Yeah.
but they always keep beating me. Like I guess I'm disappointing them. So that's what's running in our mind, right?
Yeah.
I guess nothing I do is not making them happy.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'm just gonna do my thing. That doesn't matter now. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I mean, I try to do, but they just keep healing me. I guess I'm not living up to everybody. I could understand like why you went through, like you couldn't speak up. You
I felt like there was no door to open
yeah,
that'll help me to reach out to somebody. And just that one time that like I said earlier, where my dad came and asked me, like, do you know why? It was so weird. I was just like,
yeah,
I get it now. I understand I'm disappointing you guys, but where was all this kind of talking when
yeah,
happening, like, and that's when he was just like, we were brought up differently, like, you have to understand. And I was like, oh well, I like
yeah.
this
But we don't.
than the other
But
way.
I know, and like, you see, I love the way he said it. You have to understand. No, we can't understand. There's nothing spoken.
you
We're not
know
psychic. I've heard it how many times I've heard that. I've heard that like later on, like you have to understand. No, like how can I understand if
yeah,
all I understand is your fist.
in my head, that's so
all, so like I hope you understand. Like I hope everybody's watching this. Understand. What that understand. Understand means there's a conversation between two people.
funny.
That's what understand. Understand. If there's no conversation between two people, there's no understanding. So you can't say, "I hope you understand" if you never allowed that person to speak. So I
Exactly.
need to say that louder for everybody in the back. All right.
Please do. Out there.
Okay. So whenever you say the word understand, I hope you understand. You do give that person a chance to express how they feel. So if that's not the question, then that's not an understanding.
It's not.
There's right.
There's no common ground.
Yeah, there's no common ground, right? So I just want to put out there for all the elder generation people that's watching this, right? And I feel like that's the biggest problem is that there's a lack of understanding between our generation and our parents. And number one, that's the first thing I want to say, because me and you are going to dive into this. We'll go deeper in this podcast. We're going to talk a lot about this. What do you call it? The Jets when they dive on it? Zero? The zero? No, yeah. So number one, I just want to put for all the kids out there, because the one thing I don't want never to happen, and I don't want people to misconstrue or what we say here to make it seem like we're trying to like I don't want to cause I'm not trying to tell all these kids rebel. No.
Don't do
I
it.
want I want the parents and the child to love each other, to come together, right? So I just want to, for all those kids out there, I know you're going through your own struggles. I know you're going through your own rebellious phase. If you're going through a rebellious phase right now, if you're hating, if you have a resentment or hate towards your parents or that, because whatever's going through your life, that's not my purpose. I want you guys to come together, but I just want the kids and the younger generation to understand that if you're not being misunderstood right now, I just want you to know that, like like Sia said, like your parents grew up in a different time. So a lot of times when they do things to us, we might think it's purpose. Like I remember like growing up, like, oh man, my parents don't love me or they don't care about me. So a lot of times we feel like they're doing it on purpose. But I want to let you know they're not doing it on purpose. They're just showing you the love or they're raising you the way they were raised. So it's just that's just all they know, right? So I just want to put it out there for you guys to understand that, you know, that our parents just raise us the best way they know, right? And sometimes for a lot of you guys, it might suck, it might hurt, or it might be a struggle. But you know, but that's a good thing about us as this generation. We can take the responsibility of changing it and make sure we improve it when we have kids one day, so we can, you know, show them a better life, a better way to raise them. But that's the thing. I want also for the kids, for the other generation to know, like, yeah, like we have to create that understanding. So so right now you have a better communication, and you guys now you talk things out with everybody in your family, and you talk things out, especially with your mom, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like tensions were so high back then for me, but it got better. And I honestly want to say it was when my dad passed away, because when that happened, my mom, like, she even shared it in her testimony. Like, she was like, I was super strict with my kids. You can even ask them. It's one small thing wrong, like I disciplined them for
Yeah.
everything, everything and anything. And she even started to go into saying, like, you know, my dad, he was kind of like their safety blanket, because he was her safety blanket, because after she would beat us, he would, come and, discourage us. And then he would go back to her and be like, you can't be doing that to them, because we have to find a different approach. And, he would always discuss that with her. Like, we have to find a different approach, because, they're still doing the things that we don't want them to do. So we have to find something different. And my mom's stubborn too. She's like, nope, this is the way they're gonna learn. This is how we were learned, and they need tough skin because we have tough skin because we were brought up that way. And my dad, he wasn't one to like argue with my mom. He was just like, you just understand it won't work unless we change what's going on. And she shared that in the testimony. And after the funeral and everything, there was a time where I went to go drink and I never came back. And when I did come back, she didn't beat me. I was like, I'm ready to get beat up, and then I sat there and she was just like, why did you do it? And she started questioning me, and I was like, who are you right now asking me these questions instead of beating me with, a water hose? And she was like, you, like, why? Like, I'm trying to find a common ground now. And it was so calming the way she was approaching me. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I wanted to let the pain go away because I'm still mourning dad. And she was like, well, we can mourn together. And you have to understand, you don't have to be the way you were before with me, because now that dad's gone, like, I'm always going to be here for you. And I have to find a common ground to reach out to you and your brother, so that we can all, move forward, and that you guys can have a better future. You won't do things that'll upset me. And her opening up like that, it took a lot out of her. It took my dad passing for her to do that. And him passing took a lot for us to realize a lot of things. And when she did that, I was like, I guess we can move forward like this. I can open up to you about whatever, as long as you approach me like this. And that's the way it's been going. And that goes for everyone in my family. Like, they'll come and ask me like questions like, are you okay? Like, why'd you do this or that? And I'm like, oh, well, I just wanted a day to myself or whatever. Cause like, I'm a flight attendant now, and like, I'll make trips to go wherever, for 2 or 3 days. And, I'll do my own thing, and then I'll come back because they're so worried, because I'm all over the world, especially in this pandemic, and they're just like, how were you? Like, are you okay? Like, I'm watching this new show where there's a flight attendant who's like in a murder case or whatever. Like, are you part of that? And I'm just like, no, what the heck? Like, so open about everything. And I'm just like, this is what I wanted from the beginning, and I'm very grateful, and I'm very appreciative that my mom, especially, she's changed so much of the way she was, trying to raise us the way she was. And it makes me super appreciative of that. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah. And I remember, like, I mean, I know you shared that a lot when you talk to your aunties, a lot of them are saying, you wanted to prove everybody wrong, and and that's why you did what you did. But what I ask you is, and then I'm looking back now to like your former self, your former younger self. Do you know the reason why what was the like real reason like why you acted the way you acted? I'm interested to hear, because I feel like we all do that, right? We all scared. We look back at, no, that's why. Now you're older, you know more about life. You have an understanding of feelings, of mental health, uh, and everything in general. So like looking back now at your former self, was it right? Did you want to prove everybody wrong, or was it was another reason? And if you want to share that with everybody.
So my mom, so I'm like, there was someone on her side of the family that was like molested, and I'm very
Yeah,
close to that. I'm very, very close to that family member. And
yeah,
it, it was so weird because when it happened to her, I didn't find out. This happened years ago. This happened years ago to her, and I didn't find out till recently that it happened. And she got pregnant, and she gave birth to somebody that I hold dear to my heart. But it messed up our whole family timeline,
oh wow, okay,
because she's really my auntie, but I'm over here calling her my cousin, and I'm just like, and like everyone else is like, they know the story, what
yeah,
happened to her. And it was by her own uncle too, mind you. And so like this all happened, and I'm in the dark about all of this. And when it finally came out, I was like, that's crazy. Like I couldn't, why did no one tell me this? And and that's when they were just like, it got no one really said anything because our family wanted to keep it a secret.
yeah,
It's and that's when we talked earlier before going live, and you told me like people sweep stuff under the rug,
yeah.
and that's exactly what had happened. Like they just swept it under the rug. And I didn't like that. That meant I couldn't even trust my own family, in my eyes.
Okay,
So when that happened, and like it's not really my story to tell, but I have to tell it
yeah,
because now like you're bringing it up, and I had a feeling you were going to go back to this because of course like that it kind of it makes sense kind of that was the reason why I rebelled, but there was a deeper
yeah,
to it, and that was the deeper story. The fact that I couldn't trust my own family, and like this was such a big deal in my family because everyone knew but me, and this is someone I care about dearly, and like we're close, we are very, very close.
okay, yeah,
The fact that it happened to her, and like she like everyone just kept it a secret, and they're moving on with their lives the way that they are. And I was just like, if this is how it's going to be, then I don't want to tell nobody nothing. you know
dang,
I
yeah.
I could do it all by myself. I can handle everything by myself. And
So
so,
so that nothing happened to the uncle. They just let him be.
man, I don't, yeah, like nothing happened to him. Like they don't, like some of my family knows exactly who he is, and some of my family doesn't know, because like he was, disowned for whatever, because this happened years ago, like I said.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even know his name. I don't know this uncle. I just know he's
Oh wow, yeah,
that just did what he did to my auntie or
yeah,
cousin.
yeah, yeah,
And like it traumatized her. She can't, she isn't able to, or she wasn't able to open up to my family about anything after that. And
yeah,
this is like a really big issue
yeah, yeah,
in our community, and
yeah,
it burns my soul. But I'm not one to like really speak on that part of
yeah.
our community, because it didn't happen to me.
But
But the
that
fact
was,
it happened
yeah,
to someone in my family, like it did, in a way, it changed the way I do or see things,
yeah, yeah.
my perspective on my family. And so that's the reason, I was just like, I can't trust nobody, and it's
Yeah,
always like that for me. I was always on like, I can't trust nobody to listen to my story, or whatever.
yeah.
That was the biggest, deepest, darkest secret in my family. And whoever was
Gotcha.
my family, I didn't mean to put that out there, but at the end of the day, there are people in this community who are going through stuff like this. So it has to be brought up in a conversation,
Yeah,
and I'm not going to ever mention any names, You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
I'm just I need to. This is something that definitely needed to be shared. You know.
Yeah, and that's and like you said, and that's something that I know happens all the time in our Polynesian community is like when there is molestations, there's sexual abuse, any terrible thing that happens in our families, they just hide it,
Oh yeah.
and for me, like I never understand that. I can never understand. I know a lot of the reasons why our Polynesian community does it. They want to protect. They want to protect the family reputation. They want to protect the family name. They want to keep the family together. They don't want any people know about their business. And people talking. And all the gossip, whatever. But for me, it's just like, are you like, if I just don't understand how you can just see somebody if your own family member, your own blood suffer, and not bring that up, and not find and put the focus and attention on her. What do we need to do as a family to help her?
Yeah.
Instead of what we need to do as a family to help us. We're not helping. We care more about, okay, the family reputation. We care more about ourselves more than the victim. Which for me, that I never that that's like, I feel like that's common sense as a human being. Okay, if somebody's hurt, I'm gonna help him. Okay, well, like, what I'm saying. That's what I would do. Like, if I see somebody hurting, like, I would, okay, what, I don't care about me no more.
Yep.
What do you need from me? What do we need to do? Let me know, right? But I just see that in the Polynesian community, like, yeah, we like to we don't even put any focus and attention on the people that's going through it, that's suffering, and we don't and not realizing the trauma they're gonna go through their whole life. And the people we just, oh, should be all right, things will life will go on, and just like, what? Like, you don't know, do you realize what just happened to her? The person just got abused by their uncle. You don't realize that the trauma that does to somebody, but they just like downplayed, all right, it's all good, we'll pray about it, and God would continue. you
I'm
know,
like, what is this? Jesus.
it is
You know,
crazy.
I'm like, oh my God.
All right, and then yeah, and that's something that it just doesn't, for me. I feel like that people. That's why, one of the reasons why I started this, but I feel like people do need to talk about it, um, because one thing I do know is, if you don't talk about what's going to happen, it keeps repeating.
Mhm.
It's gonna happen again. And then, because think about it, like, it's just like, if the person that did it, and then he saw that there wasn't really much accountability on his part,
Yeah.
you don't think he's gonna try
Exactly.
you don't think he's gonna try it again, right?
Exactly.
Right. And then yeah, so for you, like, so for you, that was like that was the deep reason, right? Why you didn't want to open up to nobody. Yeah, and you don't trust nobody, right?
And my aunt, my aunt in Sacramento, when she was telling me like dig deeper, that's what all my family was telling me when they were trying to figure out why I was the way I was, like dig
Yeah.
deeper, deeper. And it really took me back to that story. And I was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, like I really that was the stem root of it was I don't trust you guys to know, for me to open up to you about this, and you're just maybe gonna sweep it under the rug or treat it like it's not a big issue, you know?
Yeah.
So that was my main thing. And when it finally came out in the open, in the air, they were like, Sia, this is a big deal. Like this is something we all should have talked about, from the beginning. And you can't be hiding the way you feel. You can't be hiding just because it happened, on that side, or whoever was trying to hide it from whoever because of whatever reasons, that should not be the reason why you are doing the things that you're doing. You're keeping it a secret, keeping your feelings inside. It's bad to do that. And after that, just realizing that that was the stem root of it all, I was just like, damn, bro, I really gotta change my ways. And I told
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mom about it too, and she was just like, yes, yeah, like thank you for bringing this up, and I'm so sorry that this happened, that you had to find out this way, and that this happened to your family member. But she's in good spirits, and she was a blessing to our family, and we're forever grateful for her. So she was able to move on, and so if she can move on from it, then everyone else that was affected by it, including me, could definitely move on from it, and I have. So I'm
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. Um, I do want to. I do want to go talk about. I know you. I did. I know you mentioned about like when you went to college for the first time, right? And you finally got that freedom. You didn't know how to act.
God.
And I feel like every Polynesian can relate to that. When you taste that freedom for the first time, whoo, oh we.
Exactly. Oh my God. Some good
So
time.
yeah, definitely some good time. I can think about it right now. I want to ask you is, do you feel like that's? Do you feel like our parents being super strict or being overprotective, um, that is actually going to give us the opposite effect of the child when they finally go into real life and they don't know and they don't never had that freedom? You feel like that definitely has a big impact? Because I feel like for me is like I feel like that because I hear that all the time, like Polynesian parents, like they especially when it comes to girls, like they want to stay in the house all the time. They try
Yeah.
to protect you, and I know in their mind that's their way of protecting you.
Yeah.
But I feel like that doesn't it's not beneficial for you because you're protecting them, but you're not teaching them about real life. I feel
Yeah.
like as kids, we need as parents they need to allow the Polynesian kids to experience things, right? And
Yes.
and of course, like put some boundaries into it. We can't just do anything, but
Right.
teach. I feel like for me, I feel like that if I have a daughter one day, I will want to. I'll teach her about life. I'll let her experience it, but I'll give her the tools. Right? Hey, don't go in. If a guy tells you to go in the dark room, like make sure you're always around people. I'll teach her the life skills that she needs, but I'll let her experience it because I feel like the more our culture like just tries to overprotect or over protect all these, especially the girls,
Yeah.
then I feel like that's why a lot of kids end up going out and then they go crazy.
Oh yeah.
Right? And lucky for your story, I mean, you had a little crazy life, but I've heard some crazier stories where
I
the people like just Polynesian kids either they do stupid stuff, they either get locked up,
oh
get
yeah.
teen pregnancy, they get pregnant early in their life, and because I feel like they just because they overprotect us and not teach us life skills and
Yeah.
let us experience things, then we don't know how to act and make a decision, right? Because like our parents, like you said, if you don't let your kids go out in the real world, all
Yeah.
right, the thing is you're not always gonna be with your child the whole time, so you
Exactly.
can't hold their hand the whole time. Once they're out there, they have to make their own decisions, and then as kids, if they haven't been prepared for life and haven't been taught the skills they need,
Yeah.
then they don't know how to make it. They don't know how to act, and they don't know how to make the right decision at that moment. But if you prepare them, let them experience and prepare them, then when they go to parties and events, and have fun, which is fine. Well, I have to have fun, enjoy, but now they know how to make good decisions in those crazy moments that when the life comes.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
No, I absolutely agree because I it's hard because like now I have my little brother, he's 22 now. And me, my brother, and my mom, we're all staying together now. They just moved down with me. I moved them in from Samoa.
Hmm.
But when it was just me, I was 21 when I came to Vegas.
Yeah,
And I was like, it was hard because I didn't have a car. I was living with my aunt. And I was like, damn, I don't know where to start, like where to go, like how am I supposed to, pay rent or like look into apartments. Like I didn't know any of that stuff
hmm,
as an adult, a full grown
yeah,
adult.
yeah,
21 already. I should know these things. I should be being doing adult things, and I'm over here like being dependent on my aunt. And
yeah,
like when I finally moved out and my mom and my brother came down, like we're all, we're splitting rent now and stuff like that. But I didn't, these are things I should have been learning and doing at, college years age.
yeah.
But I wasn't because I'm out here living my life because I didn't have
How about
that
life?
freedom
How
before.
life?
Yeah.
Yeah, before, yeah,
And so like I wasn't I didn't have all that. I was out here, if things were different, because then when I graduated high school, I graduated in LA at Claremont High. It was all white, like there was no brown at that school, like no
yeah,
brown. Me and my brother were the only browns there. And just like everyone came with their cars to high school, and I was like, we didn't have this in Samoa. Like we all
Yeah.
walked to school, you know, and like they brought cars, and some of them had jobs, and I was like, how'd you get a job? Like, you know, they're already doing what you're supposed to do as an adult. And I'm like, damn, I want to do that. So like I would tell my parents, like, hey, can I get a car? And they're like, for what? Like, you know, like
Yeah.
it's not your time yet. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And they're just like, you know, you don't need a job right now. Like we're paying rent right now. And I'm like, oh, they're just like, just focus on school. And then when you're in college, you know, it'll all pay off, you
Yeah.
know? And so that was what in my mind, I was like, okay, well, if you say so, then that's how it is. And then when I get to college, yeah, no, like all the partying came out, and I was like, oh wow, like this
Yeah.
is college kids do. Like, and then I would yeah, you know, but like at the end of the day, they balanced it out though, you know,
Yeah.
because in high school they already did the partying and stuff. Now they're in college and they have to balance it out,
Yeah.
go fast, you know. And I'm over here like, no, let's keep partying, let's keep
Yeah.
going, you know,
Yeah.
like classes and all that. I feel like that was stripped. All of those were stripped from me, and I'm dealing with it now
Yeah.
because I wasn't able to live an adult life or a pre-adult
Yeah.
in the pre-adult stages when
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
supposed to happen, you know. And that was one of the reasons why, because my parents were always like, you can always depend on us. And at the end I was like, you know,
No. Yeah.
we're not always gonna be there, you know.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's like our parents always good to have a home to go back to. But
Of
when it comes to
course.
real life, you're not gonna be there for us.
Exactly. Like, and that's why now, you know, and even me and my mom were having this talk the other day too. She's like, you know, do you want to buy a house? And I'm like, yeah, like we need to get into real estate because that's
Yeah.
what it is, you know. And like I'm learning all these new things from my coworkers, and they're just like, you're so young, Sia, like, you know, you could do all these things and make all this money, and you know, it'll help you out in the long run. And I'm here telling my mom, she's like, why didn't you do this stuff, you know, back then? And I was
Yeah.
like, what? Like, oh my gosh. So she's like, Sia, like, I get you now. Like, I understand why, you know, it's kind of hard for you now because you're learning everything late in life when you should have been learning it earlier. I
Yeah.
have I have like 21-year-olds who are more well educated in adultlyhood, like livelihood than I am. You know, they're over
Yeah. Yeah.
taxes and stuff. And I'm like, what? Like I didn't no one taught me that. Like
Yeah.
it's hard, man. It was hard, especially coming from you know our kind of our poly parents. It's difficult for
I,
them,
yeah.
you know?
I feel like I'm just thinking about it. Just I feel like because the just thinking about the way our parents raised us is they raised us by telling us, right? So I feel like, you know, instead of telling us what to do, show us what to do, like experience, like, you know what I'm saying, like show, like give us some real experience, and teach, you know, and no, I think that's what teach us what to do,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of times, like, hey, don't do this. That's all they do. Like don't do this, don't do this. Just to tell us what to do, what not to do, but they're not really teaching us anything, right?
Oh,
So I feel like that's the thing, like, you know, at the end of the day, look, I want all our Polynesian sisters and brothers to succeed. I want kids to excel, do great things, right? But I feel like a lot of the, you know, the reason why I always see a lot of my boys or even girls I see that just, you know, they make a lot of big mistakes. And you know, luckily for me, I made some mistakes early in my life, but I didn't make some mistakes to the point where it impacted, you know, really impacted my life and put me in a worse position. But I just see a lot of Polynesian kids now, right? You know, because they grew up in that tough and in that strict environment they're from all the way from 0 to 18.
oh yeah.
And then when they go to college, like, you know, or they finally have that freedom, they're not even focused on like building their life at that time. They're just focused on doing the things that they wasn't able to do, right? So
Yeah.
they have, so everything, of course, every kid has to go through that. So, you know, we need at least 2, 3, 4 years.
Mhm. I'm
And
saying,
then like you said, and then around 23, 24, then we finally, okay, decided to take life serious. But you know, we could have, you know, and I feel like that's why a lot of Polynesians they don't mature late. They mature late.
yeah.
All right. And I feel like that's the thing. Like I feel like as parents, like, you know, I know our culture, like we just, you know, we teach our kids, okay, just follow what we say, and then we shelter. A lot of times we do shelter our kids from everything, especially the Polynesian women. But I feel like that does them a disservice when it comes to life. Now let me ask a question, because I'm interested. Everybody, let's listen to this. All right, so when you turn 18, you're an adult, right? 18.
Yeah.
Right. I want to ask you. I think this is the first time we've been doing this. I think it's gonna be funny. At the same time, really educated. All right. So as an adult, there's a lot, and I feel like there's 5 areas in our life as an adult that we need to focus on to improve. So I'm gonna ask you, what was your knowledge about these areas when you were 18?
Let's do it.
And then I'm doing this for everybody who watches to give you a perspective, because 18 years old, we're supposed to be an adult. And right, as an adult, okay, it's a time for us to go into the real world and make things happen for ourselves, right? So I'm gonna use Sia as the example, the guinea pig. So this is 5 areas, right? So Sia, when you were 18, looking back on 18, what did you know about relationships and sex?
Oh my God. All right. Truth comes out. I lost my virginity at 18.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't know shit about shit. I'm sorry.
No.
About
Like, what did you know about relationships, or how to be in a relationship, how to man? Like, what are the things that you knew so far about relationship or relationships by the time you turned 18?
So relationships for me, like I had one boyfriend, like my whole early years, preteen years. I had one guy that at the time, and I was like mad sprung over this guy. He was my first boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he was in Samoa at the time. So when I left Samoa to go continue college, dude was like over here cheating on me with every freaking girl. And I'm like, and like I was so sprung that I just like I forgave him every single time. So we're still good, I thought he was the one for me, even though he did all things. I'm like, no, like he's the one for me. He's the man of my life. When he broke my heart, like, I mean, he did break my heart like more than one time, but it got to the point where like my parents were like, he's not gonna, you're miles and miles away, Sia, like this is puppy love, just get over it, you're in college now. And I'm like, okay, cool, well, all right. So dude dumped me to go be with another girl, and he dumped me hella times. I was so surprised trying to go back to, So then the final time he dumped me, he like blocked my number and everything. And I was like, you know what? F this guy. I'm just gonna go and live my best life. And then that day, I did the do, and I wasn't. It was just like, it was so. I prayed after that too. I cried and prayed after that one too.
So you just did it out of like.
It was just like, and like it wasn't. I didn't like it because I did it, and it wasn't like there was no love in it. Like it was out of revenge out
of spite for your ex.
I didn't like that, and like I feel like the reason why I didn't really care so much about relationships, because I was already in a heartbroken state. I had dated, so I just ended up, just
And so what did your parents teach you so far about relationships and sex at this point? What did they teach you so far about relationships and sex at this point?
My parents or me?
What parents? What did they teach you so far about relationships and sex at this point? By the time you turn 18.
You gotta really for me personally, I really have to know, like, if I'm gonna talk to somebody and we're not talking long term, then I can't really be with you, because when I was a dude, like nothing was long term, and nothing we talked long term. I'm over here talking about let's get married at such a young age, and he's like, no, like I'm still want to do school, but nothing we talked about was long term, and there was no goals, no aspirations, nothing. So now like, it taught me, like, if I want to really be with somebody, I really gotta sit down and like we gotta have this one-on-one talking about what your aspirations are in life, and if I'm included, if you can put me in the picture and I can put you in the picture, we can go from there, but that's pretty much the only thing that I've learned so far, based off.
But that was your own experience, right?
That was my own experience.
But what did as far as before 18, like did your parents ever give you any relationship advice?
My dad did not want to give me that talk. There was a time, yeah, he did not want to give me that talk. So there was
Okay.
a time my mom, one of the days that okay, okay, so there was this day where my ex-boyfriend came and he like snuck into my house, but he was drunk, right? So I didn't
Yeah.
even know he was in my house. He
Yeah.
just came in, and like my room is right next to my parents' room, and so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so he's like knocking on my door like quietly, and like my door's open, but I'm already asleep, and like he opens it and like he comes and he crawls into bed, and I'm like, who the hell? And like I look over and it's him, and he was like, I'm drunk and I can't drive home, so I walked to your place. And I was like, you can't be here right now. My
Yeah.
parents,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, he was just like, well, can I just sleep here and I'll wake up in the morning and I'll go? Because and I was just like, I mean, you can sleep on the floor, but like we can't be like if my
Yeah.
parents
Same.
in this
Yeah.
room are in here and my door's locked, oh no, like it's over for you and me. And so like I locked the door and he slept on the floor, and like my mom, man, I don't know what it is about Samoans or Tongans with these superstitions, but all of a sudden she's up that night, and
Yeah.
she's like, there was just something that told me to come in and I was like, oh my God. She comes and she's knocking and she's turning the knob and it's locked. She's knocking hard. And I'm like, freak, man. I'm like, damn it. So I was like, you need to go hide. Like, you can't go out the window because she's going to go outside and see if there's anyone coming out the window.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know where to go. And I was like, just hide in my closet. Like, he hides in my closet. And my mom comes in and she's like checking around. She looks under my bed. She finally looks in my closet and he's right there. And so she was like, go home. And I got the beating of my life again. And like, she asked me too, like, did you
Yeah.
do? And I
Yeah.
was like, no, I didn't. And she was like, you're lying. And like, she started, she didn't believe me because my door was locked and he was in my
Yeah.
room,
Yeah.
you know? And like when that happened, like she was just crying. Everything was emotional for her, and she left. And my dad had to like come to me and tell me, "You really broke your mom's heart. Like it doesn't matter, whether you did or you didn't, because God knows the truth. But you broke your mom's heart, and you just don't understand why. And you'll understand when you grow older or whatever." And I was like 15, 16 at the time when that happened. And so when my dad said that, his heart was broken too, because he was like starting to tear up, his voice was cracking.
Yeah.
Like, what did I do wrong? Like in my mind and my heart, I didn't do anything wrong because I really didn't do anything wrong, you know.
Yeah.
So they told me, my mom sat me down and she was like, that's your virtue. You have to keep that with you forever,
Hmm.
And I was like, well, what happens if I break my virtue? And she was like, well, then, you're just one on the block. And I was like, girl. And
Dang.
what I told her too, when I told her that I was like, at 18, I did lose my virginity. And
Yeah. Yeah.
oh my God, like she changed. Like, she was always telling me from the get, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it till
Yeah.
marriage. You have to keep your virtues. You have to keep it pure. And I was just like, okay, I will, I promise. And I kept that promise all the way through high school. And then when college hit, I was like, I did everything else, so why not do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And when I told her, she was like, I'm like, Sia, like, please don't ever give it up like so easily to
Yeah.
anyone. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, like when I did do it, I did give it up real easily that first time. And like
Yeah.
after that, I realized, like, damn, Sia, like this was something so sacred that I
Yeah.
held forever, for a long time. And now you just like, there it goes. Off of something so stupid that, it didn't occur to me that that is gone and never will come back,
Yeah.
He taught me that. And ever since, when I told her at 18 this is what happened, everything just went, my mind and perspective changed on relationships. So like I don't do nothing with nobody. I don't talk if we're not talking, long term, like I said, then I
Yeah.
keep it very acute. That's it.
Yes. So yeah, that's so from that point, so that was the only time you guys had a conversation about relationship and sex, was that was it.
That was it.
So that's all you had that was the only that's what all you had to go by as far as like being ready when you go into the real world. That was your only experience about. So
That
you
was
know nothing else.
it was like it was very embarrassing for my dad because like
Yeah.
like he just doesn't, that's stuff you don't talk about with him, like with guys. And then my mom, she was just like, you know, there were times where she would be like, you know, be careful, like dressing the way you're dressing, you know, to certain events, because, you know, guys are, they're looking at certain areas of your body. And I was like, no, they're not. Like in my head, I'm like, no, like I would wear like, you know, I look like a tomboy all my life. And then when I wear like actual girl clothes, I still act like a tomboy, you know. Like when I go out, my mom's like, no, Sia, like you have to be careful because guys are looking at you this way or that way. And I'm like, no, they're not. And then she's like, you have, like, will you ever see yourself in love? Like, and then when I finally did get it, I was with the guy. She was just like, you got to be careful, Sia. Like she told me like almost all the time that I was like going out on a date with him. She was just like, please, Sia, like remember what I told you, remember what I taught you. And it stuck with the whole relationship with the guy. It stuck with me. So I'm not gonna say that she didn't tell me, like, but there was times where she would pull me aside and be like, just remember what I said that one day.
So thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that. But yeah, but that's but I feel like that's one of the things, like, relationship sex is an important skill to know about as an adult, right? And I feel like I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends, or even a lot of people on my podcast, that's one of the things, the topics that we don't talk about to our kids, and then that's why a lot of kids, because and they go to real life and they end up making some make some either have sex too early or get pregnant early, or whatever, but that's what, and then sometimes have kids early. So at the end of the day, it is what it is, what you do. But I just feel like that's why I feel like a lot of times where there's a high, either girls get pregnant early in their life, or guys have kids have kids early, or a lot of times the worst case scenario is like out of people get abused or go and get raped because they just don't know about sex, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and then I just see that a lot happening, and I feel like that's something like that's something that as an adult that we need to know. And then I feel like a lot of kids, that's something that sex can't be. I think I was talking to a Tongan mental health counselor in Utah. He was talking. He does a lot of therapy for a lot of Tongans, and he was talking about sex himself. He was like, "Look, sex is a beautiful thing, and we need to teach our kids. In our culture, Tongan culture, they view sex as a taboo, even though sex is something we do, is a normal thing in the human cycle."
Yeah. Oh yeah, I hear you.
So we need to teach kids that it's a beautiful thing, and make sure like they prepare themselves to share with the important person, right? Like you said, it's a sacred thing. We should share with somebody you love, and not be and then not fall into a bad circumstance in life that something happens to you because of that. So I feel like that's an important thing that we need to prepare a lot of kids. I want to also ask you another topic. So what did you know about as far as finance when you turn 18?
Oh my God, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know jack. So I wasn't working. I didn't have my first job till I was like 20. And that's all because I was going to school. I had financial aid, and my parents, they didn't want me to focus so much on work. They wanted me to focus on school. And so that's what I did. And and I was trying to look for, a little side job or part-time job just to start making extra money just to pocket, and my parents were like, what do you need to pocket? Like, you have all the resources there, you have all the necessities there. So you really don't need to be doing work right now, but just keep in mind that you need to focus on school. School will get you a really good career, and you'll pull through from there. You don't need to learn about that stuff now. So finances, I didn't really learn anything about it until I started working.
Yeah. And I think that's for everybody. I remember like when I was 18, I didn't know anything about bills or taxes or credit.
Yes. Oh my God.
All right. And I feel like, that's that's definitely an important area as an adult that we need to know. And I feel like, I remember like a lot of times like, I just had to figure it out, and sometimes the hard way.
Yeah.
I figured things out. And I feel like, I think that's something that we need like teach our kids early. And not only teaching about relationship sex, but also teaching about finance, of like the real world. And also the schools need to, I mean, that's not a topic, but I feel like the schools need to do that. But we don't.
I'm saying, nobody taught me taxes in high school. Like, why?
Yeah.
learn this stuff in high school.
We learn
These are
about triangles and geometry that we never.
honestly, I was like, this is a waste of time, you know.
Exactly.
Oh, time for some-
All right. What did you know so far as pursuing a career when you turn 18?
Pursuing a career. So I was, like I mentioned before, like I was so hard-headed. I still
Yeah.
am, but it was to the point where I wanted to try anything and everything
Hmm.
to see if, to first to show people that, yeah, I did that, I
Hmm.
did. And secondly, to see if it was something that I really wanted to pursue,
Yeah.
because I wasn't in the right mindset at the time. At 18, I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking of a career.
Yeah.
I
He
was,
was dealing with the other stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I was just thinking of, a 9 to 5, and I'll work my way to the top. Just a
Yeah.
regular person, human being. Like I wasn't thinking anything extravagant. If I could, wait tables for 5 years and make good money off of it, I would do that. That was like in my head at 18, and so
Yeah.
there was no career mindset until going back to Samoa after my little mishap at college, and
Yeah.
sitting down with my parents and you realizing like I really want to travel. I want to be in the air. I love being in the air, and aviation was just the way to go for me. Like being in the airline industry is something that I've always cherished, and I love airports. I'm just like, damn, this is a whole new world out here, and you get to go to another whole new world. And I was grateful that my dad was sat down and talked to me about it, and I was just like, yeah, this is something I'm gonna pursue. But I didn't find all that out at 18. I had to find out later on in life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the same. At 18, when I was 18, yeah, I had no. I played football at 18. So when I was 18, I was playing football in college. So, but that was my career, is make it to the NFL. So that was my dream. That's all I was focused on doing.
That's funny.
Let me ask you. So I'm sure you probably have more experience in this, being a PK. But what was your knowledge about your spirituality?
Oh my God. I'm pretty sure like it goes for all the Pacific Island community, where we're all most of us grew up around the church. We grew up in the
Yep.
church.
Yep.
It's there. There's family, then there's God and family.
Hmm.
And I was always taught, God first, family always.
Yep.
That stuck with me, and even though I did ungodly acts throughout my whole early years of life, I
which
always,
everyone does, by the way. Just put it out there.
right, like
we
everyone goes through these
we
things.
we all done something ungodly.
But it's like I said, like it's like every time I did those things, I would
Yeah.
literally cry, and I would cry to God, and I'll be like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Like, even though I know, like, you can't pray on something, like you can't give an empty prayer and not act on it, And
Yeah. Yeah.
I really had to change my ways to show God that I hear you, God. Like I'm gonna change my ways for you. And like even though I kept doing stuff I was doing at such an early age, it like he would put, there were lessons that were learned, and he made sure I learned my lesson. He made sure that everything I did comes with a consequence, and the consequences showed up. And when they finally hit me, like it took my dad passing away for me to realize I need to step it up. And
Yeah.
I blamed God for anything that happened in my life. And every time I get I get praise, or I get a promotion, or something good happens in my life, I always give thanks to God. If something bad happens to my life, I always give thanks to God, because like he's always going to be there for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that for a fact. So I had no trouble or problems with my spirituality or my religion, because always I always sought to him. I always
Mhm.
like looked to him
Mhm.
for
I'm interested to ask you what I feel like when it comes to our spirituality, it's everybody's own personal journey with God, right? I know your parents taught you their version of what the journey they want you to take with God, but I'm sure. But that's the thing is I believe that in my opinion, everybody will have their own journey with God,
Oh yeah.
as much as our parents try to teach us. So, what is something that you learned in your own journey? from your own journey in with God that wasn't that you didn't learn from your parents, something you learned on your own that was kind of different from what they taught you. I'll show you an example of mine. My dad's a pastor too.
Okay, PK.
We're both PKs here.
My
family. So one thing I learned, my dad was just like the hardcore, right? If you well, this is the version I got from my parents. You follow the commandments, you go to heaven. You don't follow it, you go to hell.
I hear you.
That was my that was what I got taught. So every single time I used to mess up, I was like, God damn, I'm going to hell. I mean, I used to be so afraid too. Like I used to be, oh my God, like like you did, like after I do something, and then then I have that guilt the next day, and then I'll pray to God, please don't send me to hell. Please don't send me to hell. All right. So I grew up. I grew up that way for a long time. I think it wasn't like to maybe 22, 23. I finally learned. Oh my God! Like I'm not going to hell. Like I there is repentance. I can change.
Yes.
Right. I can't be so hard on myself all the time. And stress myself out from one mistake I make. But one thing I learned is for myself, it's number one, that I didn't really learn from my parents when it comes to my journey with God. Number one, no matter how much we fail, God will always take us back. That's something I never learned from my parents, and I had to learn it on myself. And that kind of depressurized all the stress and allowed me to make mistakes, but not only make mistakes, but actually learn from mistakes. Because when I feel like all this pressure from my parents of being perfect, spiritually perfect, I just wanted to make mistakes. All right. And for me, I was like, well, I'm going to hell anyway. It doesn't matter if I make another mistake, But once I learned the mercy of God, He wants us. He wants us to welcome us back, but He wants us to do better, right? And that's why That's why He allows us to come back. Like He always will accept us for who we are. But God always wants the best for us, but it's our responsibility to make those changes and repent and want better for ourselves. But no matter what, but what you said, no matter what, He's always gonna be there. I love what you said. He's always gonna be there with us, right? I never got taught that idea that God wants the best for us and He wants us to do better. I never got taught that idea. All I knew was be right, follow the commandments.
Yep.
And you go to heaven. You don't follow it, you go to hell. And that's the mentality. So that's what I learned in my own spiritual journey. God loves us. God's love never changes. He will always welcome me back, no matter how many mistakes I make. And once I understood that and felt the love of God, oh my God, God loves me so much, and He's always willing to take me back. I started to mature. I don't want to keep making mistakes. I was like, man, God, God is He loves me so much. God's it's like a dad to me. It's like I don't want to disappoint Him. And at some point in time, I don't want to I want to make Him proud.
Yes.
Even though I know He loves me. Even though I know that the love is unconditional, but once I changed that mindset, oh my God, that's when I started realizing and started maturing and started changing my life and actually trying to live I'm not perfect. I make mistakes too, but I put in effort. When it comes to my spiritual life, right? And not just when I was young, I didn't care. All right. So I'm interested to hear that. What was your experience, and what's something that you learned from your own spiritual journey, from your life, that you didn't learn from what your parents taught you?
So I definitely had a similar, what's the word? Just
Experience.
Yes, experience as you.
Yeah.
And it also came with another time where my parents are always preaching the word of God. They're always like, read this Bible verse, read your 10 commandments, and you will go to heaven. And I was just like, I'm making all these mistakes, and it scared me too at such a young age. I was so scared. And that I was doing all these things, and in my head it's a list, if the bad outweighs the good, then I'm going to hell. That's So I'm like, I did all the bad, and then I have a few good that I did in my life, and that's the way I always viewed it. And so my parents, like, they're always preaching to me the word of God. And I didn't start experiencing other like Christianities. I didn't go to any of those other churches
Mhm.
until I got out here to the mainland, to the States, and I got to experience, other churches and how they preach. And you know, I just like my parents, like not my parents, because my parents, they are accepting of anyone and everyone for the way they
Yeah.
come to church. Doesn't matter who you are, they'll if you love God the way they love God, then we're family.
Mhm.
I have other like church members or other people that I know who are just like, oh, if you're if you're gay, you're not going to heaven because it doesn't say that in the Bible. But all the while, it's on another verse it says, God loves all his children. And I'm like, well, you can't contradict yourself. You can't say one Bible verse and go with that, and
Yeah.
continue to preach on that, and then there's this other verse that you're just totally neglecting and not looking at. And so that's one thing I've learned, is that the Bible has, it's not, I don't wouldn't want to say contradicting verses, but it's like there's a reason for every verse. There's a reason
Yeah.
there for everything in the Bible. There's a reason for it. And people like to use certain quotes.
Versus, yeah, for their agenda. Yeah. Yeah.
And that really taught me a lot. And I'm just like, I'm never, if I go to listen to a sermon at church, like I'll hear what he's saying, I'll hear whatever the pastor's saying, and I'll use it to my own instinct. I'll use it to the way I want to use it. And I
Yeah.
won't like, if I'll talk to somebody about whatever situations we're going through, whatever obstacles we're going through in life, and if we bring out the same Bible verse, then great. Like, that helped us get through a time in our life.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
helped heal. And I would never use anything in the Bible against no one. And
Yeah.
I feel like that should be that should go for everybody. If you love God so much, you wouldn't use his word against anybody, because at the end of the day, it's not meant for everybody. It's meant for certain people, these verses.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's one thing I really like hold dearly to my heart, is like everything that the word of God, especially. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like sometimes like that's in my experience, I see that a lot, that sometimes people, I don't know if they do it intentionally or unintentionally, but they use verses to put people down.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. And I understand that we do need to hear the message of God, but I feel like that. But just listen. But I remember, if you, I mean, from my recollection knowledge, whenever I hear the way Jesus taught, he
Yeah.
always taught with love. Like, he never taught with judgment, and he never taught with criticism. He never taught to put people and to make it seem like he was better than anybody else,
Yep.
or put people, other people down. And I feel like sometimes churches do that.
Yeah.
That they kind of
Yeah.
like, they kind of use their authority to make it seem like that we're lesser, or we're not good enough, or spiritually clean, or
Yes.
especially for everybody that's struggling. But yeah, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Like, but
Oh,
as
I
about, yeah, yeah. But I feel on that one, yeah, yeah, like, yeah. And at the end of the day, like, it's good to learn, but what just take, I feel like at this point in time in my life, I just take the good and what works for my life, and that's what, if that, leave out the bad.
agreed.
So if somebody's preaching something, I don't care if it's the president or it's the prime minister, or if it's like the Pope. if he preaches something, if I'll take the good out of it, and then I feel like that's trying to like put me down, like, I'll just leave it to the side. All
Yeah.
right. So the last thing. Oh yeah. So the last category. What did you know about mental health, and taking care of your mental health, and taking care of your physical health? I guess mental, emotional, and physical. They're all in the same thing. So when you turn 18, what did you know about mental health? What did you know about taking care of your emotional health? And what did you know taking about your physical health?
So at 18, 17, 18, that was when I was going through a little runaway situation. So in my mind, like, the stem root of it all.
Yep.
Like, I trusted no one at the time.
Yep.
Like, I had all
Hmm.
these things bottled up, and nobody was going to tell me nothing about any of it, because I wasn't going to share anything. And even if it did come out, like if I was drunk, and honestly, nothing, even when I drank, it never came out. But if I were to have drank and it came out,
Mm-hmm.
would have denied it all the next day. I would have been like, well, nah, you
Yeah.
don't like that. Don't give me no advice,
Yeah.
because you don't know my story. You don't know my life like that.
Mm-hmm.
But being so young at 18, like I wasn't, it was unhealthy. It was very unhealthy for me to think like that, because you need someone. Those are important years, right? Your teenage years going into the adult livelihood. It's very important that you take care of your mental health,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to enter, you know, your adult life, and you're going through all these feelings, all these emotions, and you get stress added on top of that for being
Mm-hmm.
you got things to worry about, bills to pay and stuff like that. And I even though I didn't have bills to pay and stuff like that, I still was trying to manage and handle my own. And that for me was very unhealthy, because I didn't want to rely on anybody. And like there are people who are strong enough to not be dependent on anybody, like financially and whatnot, but mentally it's so hard, because you can't do that, and you're still building all this stuff up inside of you, and just keep it bottled up. It's super unhealthy, and I learned that later on in life, that I needed to find an outlet. I needed to find a reason to talk to somebody, and when I did, it oh my god, it was such a relief. It was so, like, I can't express how much of a lift it took off my shoulders, because I felt so much better. My mind, my conscience was so much better the next day, after talking to my parents, after talking to my family. Like we all had this big meeting, and I told them what happened, and they were just like, yeah. They gave me all these words of advice. We prayed about it forever. We talked about all the good things that happened in my lifetime. No one said anything negative to me. It was just uplifting for me. And to have that kind of comfort, it really made me feel safe and
Mm-hmm.
secure. I felt like that was my safe haven. And I looked at it totally different, because of the stories that I've heard from my family before. But now being in this safe place, like I know I'm good to share anything and everything, when the time is right. So it was difficult for me at 18, but I definitely, growing up after that, it's like, it's nothing now, where I can just talk to anybody
Yeah.
related, or if I trust them enough to know these things about
Yeah.
me. I definitely do. I talk to people.
Yeah. So I mean, just listen to your story. So I can pretty much assume like growing when you grew up, there was no talk about mental health was never brought up.
Never.
And plus, you weren't even if it was brought up, you wouldn't want to talk anyway because you didn't
Hell
trust
no.
nobody.
Not at that age. I was so hard headed.
All right. No, I think you said something that's really important. I want to share this with everyone. Like, it's really you said it's really important for kids to find a safe place,
Yes.
uh, and for kids to be able to make sure they take care of their mental health, especially in the early years of their life. And I realize that, the reason why I bring this up because I feel like if you're anybody that's a parent or elder generation, you know, life is hard, man. Life is like real life. When we go into real life, it's a very dark, negative, difficult, and that's just the real world. That's just life in general. Like and I feel like we need like for me, I want our Polynesian people to do well. I want our community to strive and thrive. Um, but I know that a lot of people going into real life at 18 broken. A lot of kids are going into real love, going into real life lost. Um, don't feel not confident. You know, they're so they're just worn down and they're afraid. Um, and I can relate too because when I would turn 18 and go into real life, I was going through my own issues, and
Right.
then we're left to figure that out on our own, which can be tough, because at the end of the day, I know you can't do everything on your own.
Yeah.
Life is just too much. Life is just too much of a burden. Like you can't do it on your own. You need help.
Uh-huh.
And I know Polynesians, we don't like to talk and we don't like to reach out and ask for help. But I think we all will meet someone one day. We all meet that one person that we can confide in. And I know you have your friend that you can talk to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's something I just want to bring up. Like, please, like we need to start working on our kids and paying attention to our kids, have more understanding of our kids and prepare them, right? So that way, when they turn 18 and go into real life, not only they're confident, have self-esteem within themselves, they're taught about, the fact they have a good foundation with God. um, they have confidence speaking up their own voice and not hide things, and like you said, bottle things up, because that's what we do as Polynesians. We bottle things up all the time, and then we go to real world, and then somebody pisses us off, and we just unleash. We just let everything go, and I just realized that, like, a lot of us, even myself, that even when you shared the story, a lot of us are going into adulthood, even though we're adults, but we're not even, we haven't matured mentally, emotionally, spiritually. We're 18, physically we're 18, but our emotional health is still like 13, 14. We're still a kid. Right. And that's, and I know a lot of people like that. Not only with us, and then we have to figure, and then instead of spending the years from 18, 19, 20, 21, instead of spending those years of building our life and building a loving relationship, building our happiness, building a career, building our finances, we spend the next five years figuring ourselves out. And those 5 years, we're not really doing anything for our life. We're just trying to figure ourselves out. But I feel like, we, as a community, we can do a better job of, raising our, understanding the kids and giving them a better chance for life. Then they can go into life more confident, more complete, and then and ready to go attack the world. ready to attack the world and not hide, run away from it. Yeah. So but thanks for sharing it. Those are the 5 categories. I feel like I learned that from my mentor. My mentor told me, he was like, this is the 5 areas of your life you need to work on in order to have, as an adult, to have a good life, a good quality life. He said, like, number 1, we gotta have. So we gotta have make sure you build a great relationship, and have a good relationships in our life, and find a partner, and make sure you find, and of course having sex, make sure you have a healthy sex life, not an abusive sex life. Right. Finances, make sure we have our finances together. Of course, we need to pay our bills, right? Having a career, making sure we have a future. That's what a career does. It's making sure that we take care of our future. And then spirituality, of course, we gotta put God first and everything. He can definitely help us. And then, of course, our mental health, emotional health, and physical health.
Yes.
And we didn't even talk about physical good, physical health. Oh my God, Polynesians. Woof.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
we gotta get, we gotta work on our physical health. Some of I know we're bigger than most people naturally, but that doesn't mean we just let loose, let it go. And that's a whole nother topic, because that's why I see a lot of young kids, having heart diseases at like 20. Where I'm like, man, I think it was like a year ago. I had a good friend of mine. He passed away. Rest in peace. But he passed away at 30 with a heart attack.
Oh no.
I know, and I was like, oh my God, 30 years old? Like, that's 30. That's but he was a bigger dude though. He was big and obese. But that's just like, that's something that we gotta improve. So what do you think about those 5 categories? Relationship, sex, finance, career, spirituality, health. What do you feel like? What do you think about those 5 categories?
Those are very, very important categories that I feel I should have learned before hitting 18. If I was prepared for that going into my adulthood, then I would probably be, I wouldn't be where I am now, trying to figure this out, and they're super important, especially for the youth in our community. Like, we really need to step up and teach things to them, to prepare them, because this is real life. I don't want anyone to go through the struggles that I went through later on in life. So it's definitely those are all very important categories that I feel everybody needs to learn, especially within our youth in the community.
Yep. I do want to talk about something. I know it's something that you wanted to talk about. I want to talk about gender roles in the Polynesian community, and not only gender roles in the culture, but also gender roles when it comes to like professional, the professions and the careers we choose into. And I know for me, I know for a lot of, I know there are gender roles. I know as women, You guys get taught to be housewives. If you grow up in the Polynesian culture, that's what you got taught to. You cook, clean, stay home. Finding yourself a good man. That's your whole whole purpose in life is just be a good girl and make sure you attract a good man, and then once you get a good man, then you're set. I know that's typically the culture. It's funny. I had a podcast with a girl named Fanga a couple days ago, and she said something that she said in her family. It doesn't matter what she does. It doesn't matter what she accomplishes. If she's not married, then she's a failure. They still see her as a failure.
Oh my God.
And I mean, and she's still single, by the way. But I remember that's what she. Yeah. But she's a model. She has a good job in the government. Like she's really doing really well for herself. But that's one thing she said to me. So yeah, my family doesn't care what I do. In their mind, if I don't get married, have kids, I'm considered a failure. But that's just a general
girl. You're doing the dang thing, okay?
But that's just the the gender the gender roles, expectations, and sexism that we have in our culture. So, can you share your experience? Growing up in the gender roles that was placed upon women and you, and also I know you talked about women trying to excel and succeed in male-dominated industries. So I do want to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I shared a little bit with you. I have family members, female family members, who are in these industries, male-dominant industries, and they're like manager roles, operation managers, supervisors, and they're young too. These 28, 29, 30-year-old cousins of mine they have to tell all these older men, what to do. And it's hard for them to do that because they're looking at them like, who are you? Like, you're a girl to me. And it's hard because if the roles were reversed, if it was a younger guy, they'd be on top of it.
Yeah.
It's been a struggle for my cousins, and I applaud each and every one of them. Like, they know who they are when they watch this podcast. Like, you guys know who you are. You guys they're really out here, breaking stereotypes. And this is also, gender roles is something that's been played out, for generations, for years.
History.
Yeah. And like, it's really great to see my own family succeeding in these things, because that's something, me being me, I told you I didn't trust nobody. I wanted to do everything on my own. And like, that quality of mine, it still somewhat applies in my life, because I don't want to depend on anybody. I don't want anybody. I've been dependent my whole life, literally.
Yeah.
And I hated being that way, to the point where, I really wanted to go out and prove people wrong with all these other things. And it was all a mess. Like, my life was a roller coaster because I was trying to do everything all at once. But now that I'm set on a career, now that I'm set on what I want to do with my life, I'm slowly but surely making my way up to the top. And, the career that I chose is a male dominant career, of course. And like, it only adds more fuel to the fire to my, to me wanting to do and pursue it even more because of that reason. And, I have my mom, and she is the church of, like, she is freaking all about the church. She's a woman of God. She loves to preach about God. She's probably praying right now. And she's like, I really wanted to be a student in the ministry. And, because her elders had told her, it's frowned upon, you can't be doing stuff like that because you're a woman.
Yeah.
She said, okay. And, she's all about respect. My mom is all about her elders. She would never overstep any boundaries like that. And that is the reason why she never took the initiative to do that, because even though she does want to do these things and succeed in it, because I know she would succeed in it, and other people do too, she's still in her heart a true Samoan woman.
Traditional woman.
And did everything that her family told her to do. And I have all my respect and props and kudos go to my mom for doing that. And she's always telling me, don't do, if you want to do something different, go out and do it. Don't, because you won't be happy. I'm not saying she was saying this to me, like I didn't say I wasn't happy growing up, but if I did things differently, I would be so much more happier, with the lifestyle that I chose to do because it's what I wanted to do. But I decided to make other people happy, and that's what I did. And I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna do things my way. And this is only because if I continue if we continue to do this going downwards, our timeline, our family line, then, we're all just gonna be doing the same thing. And there's gonna be no changes, and I don't like that. I want us to succeed and do things differently in all roles. We don't have to be the housewife. We don't have to, stay home and be married and have kids to succeed in life. Like, no, that's not our calling. And if you knew that was your calling, you know you could have went for it. But you, out of respect for our elders and out of the love you had for our family, like, you didn't do it, and I applaud you for that. But I'm gonna do what I want to do, and she supported me 100%. Like I said, like, everything's changed now that my dad's passed. Like, she's like, do it, Sia. Like, I have all my faith in you, like, and just like, I'll live my life through you. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm living my life through my parents, and I'm trying to succeed for and through my parents. And it's so much. It's a lot of success for me. Like, there's so many blessings that have been showered on me lately that I'm just like, this is what I wanted from 18. This is everything I needed and wanted at 18, and it's happening to me now because of I got the blessing from my mom. And because I got it from her, I'm able to succeed and do these things now. And I'm so appreciative because it's not hard. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy going into these things and, having such a hard head, like, it's being stubborn about it. You have to have tough skin. You have to really have tough skin to go into these kind of things, because you can't make a change if, you go and, like, it's not for the weak. Like, people will
Hmm.
go, like, females, they'll go in and, they'll guys will say things, or people will say things to bring them down. And, I don't want females to go in and they say these things and they're just like, yeah, you're right, like, I should just give up. Like, that's you should keep, if that's something you really want to pursue in life, just keep going. Like, don't apologize for anything, because you're not doing anything wrong. And if you could do this, it'll help lead a whole village after you. Everything will follow after that. And that's what I plan on doing for our community. So I definitely think that gender roles plays a huge part. And, like, going back to the story you said of the person you interviewed, what's her name, Fama?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my god,
Fine.
I really applaud her because
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like, I can't believe that story, man. Like, she's really
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
her family, like, oh man, I all my props to you, girl, because it's not easy, man, especially when you have family who are against it.
Yeah.
Just, whatever you do that is making you happy, I feel you should continue doing it, because disregard the people looking down at you. It's the people that are looking up to you that really matter in
Yeah.
my eyes. So that's how I see it, to be honest.
All right. And I know you said uh, you're working to be a pilot. That's your one of your goals right now. Salute to you. I was interested. Can you talk about what inspired you to decide to pursue that? How did you fall into that path?
Yeah, so I feel like everything kind of ties in together with my mental health, because when I'm in the air, I feel at peace.
Yeah.
I feel so much at peace. I feel like I have no worries in life. And the fact
Hmm.
that I'm that much closer to my loved ones is how I see it. It just makes me feel even more, more
Yeah.
comforted. And so it just, I love that feeling. And what I started off as, like, a gate agent, and I liked, just working for the airline in general. Like, I didn't have to be
Yeah.
a to do all of this.
Yeah.
I was able to travel a lot, and just wanting to travel the world through the lives of my loved ones who couldn't be able to.
Hmm.
It's something that my dad, he's always wanted to go to Japan. He's always wanted to travel the world, and I'm like, me too. Like, we're gonna go do these things in the future, and yet he couldn't. And my mom, she's the same way, and I'm like, we're gonna go. I'm just gonna do the thing, and we're gonna do it, and we're gonna go. And it inspired me to want to do more than just serve people on a plane and just be their pilot defender. Like, I just wanted to be a pilot. I want to see what it's like to actually fly a plane. And a commercial pilot's license is not hard. It's not easy to get. Like any pilot, any license at that is not easy to
Yeah.
get, you know. So it's super hard and tough going into this kind of industry, going into this
Yeah.
kind of schooling, but I wanted to do it because I know that once I'm in the air and once I'm able to fly, it's like the best feeling in the world for me, and it's a peace of mind for me. So it's not only something that I want to do career wise, it's just
Hmm.
something that I really do enjoy feeling.
Hmm.
And I love doing stuff like that. So why not even further my career in being that? So that's kind of the reason why I decided to tie everything together and be a pilot.
Okay. All right. I, man, I feel like, man, and shout out to you and keep doing your thing. I think that'd be great. And like I told you before, whenever I hear stories of Polynesians trying to do big things, it's always a good feeling for me. Good feeling for me.
Yeah, no, I hear
Very,
you.
very empowering for me. So, shout out to you. And then I know you're gonna, I know. I just listened to your whole story and everything you've gone through in your life. Like, oh man, dealing with those people at work,
Oh my god.
it's nothing. It's nothing compared to to what you've gone through. And also like anybody out there that's watching this, and if you have a dream, you have a passion, you have a goal, like you know, pursue it,
Please do.
pursue it. And and like you said, I know, and I know being the first person to break into an industry, that's always one of the hardest things, right? If you're the first person to break into it, but working on your goals and dreams um, and goal and passion is like it can't be it is hard and difficult because if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right.
But it is a difficult path. There is a lot of sacrifice, and I know sometimes it gets tough. And I know a lot of times in our Polynesian community, I don't know, for some reason I noticed this. That whenever somebody tries to do well, and elevate their life, they always Polynesians like to judge them and criticize it for some reason.
Yes.
I don't know what's the case with that. I don't know why we do that to each other. When we see somebody doing really well, we see somebody striving or elevating or trying something better, try something new.
Yeah.
Um, we always like to try to tear them down and instead of trying to build them up. I don't know why we do this. Maybe I don't know. Maybe well, I know why people do it. It's just people they're insecure and struggling in their own life. That's their way of feeling good about themselves to try to bring other people down.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I encourage you to do it because I feel like that. I would definitely, I would love to like have kids one day, and then they grow up and seeing like walking into a airport and they see like Polynesian female pilots. I think that'd be cool. For me, if I growing up, growing up, like I didn't have a lot of role models, in my life, besides my parents, but I never saw anybody that was Tongan or Polynesian that I could look up to and see. And I guess the only thing I saw Polynesians excel at was like NFL, athletes. All right,
Yeah.
so that's what drove me when I was in college trying to play football. That was like what inspired me. But I remember in college after I graduated
Yeah.
and realized my dream was over. I was like, oh, that's. I'm not gonna lie, I was depressed for a long time. I was like, it was shattered because I didn't have belief in myself to think that I was able to do anything else besides playing
Yeah.
sports. Because in my mind, growing up as a kid, like the only thing that we could do and excel at as kids, as Polynesians, is either sports or security or something, doing something, right? So, yeah. All right. So, yeah, man, we had a really good podcast today. Really, really good stories from you. No, the one thing I want to, I think one thing you said I want to just bring up also is you said if you're going through challenges right now, if you're going through struggles, trying to work on your dreams, and your passion in life, just remember, don't worry about the haters and the naysayers. Just do it for the people that are looking up to you. And that's what, and I love you brought that up because that for me, doing what I'm doing right now, what I'm trying to do for my life, I know I do have a lot of criticism and people say things, only from the world and also for my family. But for me, the reason why I'm doing for the people that need it.
Yes.
That's what drives me, honestly. That's what inspires me because I'm doing for the people that are looking up to me.
Yep.
All my younger nieces and nephews, all my younger cousins are looking up to me, and all the Polynesians that are going through the struggles, and it can relate to a lot of things that you said.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for them, so I don't care about anybody. I don't care about anybody. I don't care about anybody else. So yeah, like don't forget, if you do your be successful, work on your goals, dreams, and passion, but do it for the people looking up, because no matter who you are, there's always somebody that's look up to you, no matter who you are in your life. Okay. I guess the last thing I want to cover real quick with you is I guess I want to ask you, if you had a chance to go back to your younger self and talk to your younger self, um, what would you say to that person? What would you say to her?
Whew, oh my God, talking to younger Sia, that would be tough. Could go back, I would tell her to just open her heart. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy, going through things alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you could open your heart and open your mind to, to just somebody, even if, I told myself at a young age, like, God is enough. He's enough for me to go to. But sometimes it doesn't seem that way. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you need somebody to talk to
Mm-hmm.
like that, and, to talk back to you. And that's what I would definitely tell, younger Sia. I would, it's okay to have somebody to vent to. It's okay to trust somebody. You just got to make sure you trust the right person, and, go from there. So always keep an open mind, always keep an open heart, and, God will bless you tenfold for sure.
Facts. No, that's true. That's absolutely true. Like, don't be, if everybody watching out there, like, don't be afraid to like to talk to somebody. Because one thing I realized in my life, there's always good people out there.
Always.
I know sometimes in life that doesn't seem like the case, because everybody is just disappointing you and mistreating you, and some people, and I know there's a lot of people that feel that way, but I've learned that there's always somebody out there that's willing to help you, understand you, and listen to you. You just have to find that person, and
Yeah.
usually those people are outside your comfort zone, outside the circle that you live in, that you're used to. So if I'm like, because I used to be like that before, and I know as Polynesians we're very prideful. Like but you got that warrior mentality that we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight.
Yeah.
We got the hands.
Oh
So
my gosh.
so I know it's our natural, like, I guess, instinct as Polynesians is to keep fighting and
Yeah.
never asking for help and taking all the burden alone. But I just want to express my love to everybody out there, to let you know that no, like, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to go alone in life. You don't have to do everything on your own. There are good people out there, and if you can't recognize or find or feel those people around in your life right now in your own circle, then you have to go outside your circle.
Yes.
And I'm letting you know right now, like, it's crazy. Like like you said, I was like you. I lived that that rebellious and relentless childhood and life. I think I was a good boy until 18. I think at 18, when I went to college, that's when I started veering off. When I had my freedom. But I tried to live the good boy life, the good Christian life. But then I made a lot of mistakes in my early 20s. But there was a point. But like I said, I'm just very grateful that I met certain people in my life, and they became my mentors, and they changed my mentality, my perspective. And there was a point in time I felt like I was just like, I'm just a average Polynesian. Like, I had no future. I had no confidence in myself to do anything. I just felt like that I was a victim to my struggles and what I was going through. But luckily I met certain people. So that's why I know in life, that's why I know there's are people out there that's willing to help you, that willing to be your mentor and really to guide you in your life. And and sometimes you have to go find those people. And if you don't happen to meet those people in your life, luckily I just happened to meet those people through my job. But all I can say for everybody out there is just try to find those people, because there's people out there that will support and love you and help you.
Facts.
is there anything else you want to cover? Anything else you want to talk about? It's like, I like your energy. I like your vibe right now. You just,
Yes,
you got,
sir.
you got that fire. You got that fire.
I feel like we went through a lot today.
I know we did. Anything else you wanna cover? I'm just looking down at my notes right now. Yeah, I mean, I know you talked about everything. So let me just go down to my notes. Let me know if there's anything you want to cover, because I want to make sure I get
Of course.
everything from you.
Are you good?
So I know you covered about the pressure of being a PK. The pastor's daughter. I know you talked about that. I know we talked about being Polynesian parents being overprotective. I know we talked about speaking out. Making sure that Polynesian kids have a safe place to speak out and express themselves, and so there is some kind of understanding, because I feel like that's where a lot of the problems arise, is because there's no understanding.
Yep.
I know we talked about mental health, and mental health, Polynesian. I know your parents putting you down. Did we talk about that? I know that was I know your dad often puts you down, but that was his way of like uplifting you. But I know as Polynesians we tend to do that. Like we tend to like just put kids down or shut kids down when it comes to their dreams and goals and they want to do for their life.
In his head, that was his way of uplifting me, and
Yeah.
realized that was what he was doing, because I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
It took him realizing that I needed to be approached a different way to actually talk to me in a different tone. And we both came to common ground when it came to talking about my aspirations in life, and all those tough those talks where he was just like discouraging me. He was just like, I was brought up that way, and sometimes people, I'm not realizing that it's a new generation, and I have to approach you a different way, and you're going to have to approach your kids in a different way, but whatever you want to do, see, at the end of the day, I do support you. Even if I do say these things that are against it, I want you to know that I'm really just looking out for whatever it is in your best interest. And I'm kind of glad that we went over, that one time we talked about it, and we came to a common ground, common understanding, where he understood where I wanted to do and what I wanted to do and how I was going about it. And he was like right behind my back 100%. He was like, do it, but also know you got to put God first in everything that you do, and you'll succeed forever. And I was like, I got you, Dad. We just there,
Guys had a daddy moment.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I miss those moments. But yeah, that was a good talk with him, and I'm very appreciative of all the talks, all the good talks, and all the bad talks, because it made me who I am today, and it brought me to understand a lot of things in my life now.
Yeah, and also just want to add on to that, and I know you said, I know we did talk about, our parents only teach us the way they were raised and they were taught, right?
Yep.
And I remember having a discussion. I want to bring it up to everybody. I know why our parents discipline us, because in their mind, they feel like the tough love discipline Polynesian parenting style is the only way we can keep people in line, right? We can keep our kids in line.
Yep.
But I want to let everybody understand, like there's different, like physical discipline is not the only way of parenting that you could use on a child. There are different ways you can use in a child. And I know, like I told you before early in the podcast, I do believe in physical discipline. Sometimes our kids need it. But honestly, like you said, I know that's the mentality. Okay, if that's the mentality of most Polynesians. If I'm not hard on them, then they won't take me seriously. They won't listen. They won't obey. It's like authority. It's like they're afraid to lose their authority as parents. I feel like as parents, they feel like that if I don't discipline my kids, they won't respect me.
Yep.
They won't respect me, and they won't respect my authority. And that's why I put it out there for the elder generation. You can raise your kids with love, and they'll still be able to respect and follow your authority, if that makes sense. Like, because obviously we've seen from my experience and your experience that you can still discipline the kid, but they still will do the opposite.
No.
So obviously, what for me is like, if it's not working, then why don't I try something different, right?
Yes.
But just put it out there, like sometimes like and just understanding from my own experience, like as a kid, for me, like I didn't want to disappoint my parents.
Yeah.
I love my parents,
Yeah.
and if only like if honestly like just looking back, if certain times if they would have just shown talked to me and asked me of how I was doing and explained to me what I did wrong and show me more emotional love and affection, I felt like that would have I feel like that I wouldn't do those things. So sometimes as a kid, I just did things just to do things because I
Yeah.
didn't feel that tension from home.
Right.
And I know that's a common thing with a lot of my a lot of my good friends right now and younger friends as well. Is that's the feedback I get from them is they feel like that their parents are too hard on them and they don't feel like they care about them. So
Yeah.
they're trying to find that love in a different form
Yeah.
on the outside world, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or sex, whatever. They just trying to find that love they don't get from home.
Right.
So I just want to put it out there, like for all the Polynesian parents out there, like you can like you don't have to always you can build a respectful relationship with your child without the use of physical discipline. It
Yep.
is possible. It is possible. All right. Yeah. So that's why I just want to put out there and just have put that thought out there and challenge people's thoughts because I know that's the common thing. That's the most common thing in most Polynesians is I know as a culture that it's all about respect, it's all about authority, it's all about structure,
Oh,
and that's how we do it with our children. But like I said, that's one thing I do know is like you don't have to if you feel like that you have to discipline the kid because you're afraid to they lose respect. We like our kid, and actually we will respect our parents no matter what.
oh yeah.
Like as I just knowing the Polynesian bond, that the bond between a Polynesian kid and the child, it's always this mad respect and love we have for one another. Um, but I feel like that sometimes you don't have to always resort to that. So I just want to put it out there. Um, but besides that, yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everything. And I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for
Course.
sharing your story. Number one, thank you for having the courage to even talk about the things that you talked about. And a lot of people don't know that like how much strength and courage it takes for somebody to share their life and open it up,
Right.
and talk about their own life. So just mad love to you, and I want to give you a big hug, like a big Zoom hug, big hug to you. Thank you for sharing the story, and thank you for your courage. I respect you, and I know a lot of things you shared today. There's a lot of people that's watching this definitely needed to hear it. So the one thing I always ask my guests every last at the end of the show, if you don't mind, to end the show with just sharing your last thoughts, share your final thoughts with everybody, your some words of wisdom, some inspiration, and if you just share your final thoughts with everyone, and then we can leave it, then we can close it out with that.
For surely. Well, I just want to start off by saying thank you so much, like for this opportunity. It was, not when I did when I first saw your message, I was like, who is this guy? Like, I had to go on your page to see if you were like a real person doing podcasts. And I was like, oh my God, like this is dope. Like I've never seen no one in our community doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah,
So I give you all the applause. Like you're really out here doing it. And like I said, like just there are people who are, giving negative criticism on you and what you're doing. Like just, it's in one ear out the other, and
yeah,
just think of all the people you're actually affecting in a good way. I
yeah.
mean, I was touched. I was like, oh my God, he really reached out to me. Like, who am I for him to reach out to? So I do appreciate it, man, because you never know. Like somebody could be hiding behind their own Instagram posts and they could be going through some things that they haven't
Yeah,
been, you know.
yeah,
I do appreciate you reaching out to me because I do have some stories to share. And it was really great just opening up again, to you about it. So I commend you. I keep on keeping on with what you're doing. And for those out who are watching the podcast, like just keep on doing you, man. At the end of the day, like no one's got you like God's got you. And you got people out here who really care about you. You just gotta choose the right people to hang with and all that and the third. And God will bless you tenfold. He will.
all right. Thank you for the sermon, PK. Thank you. Thank you. I got a chance to see you in action. That was
true.
cool. That was good. That was good.
I got you.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and just stop the recording. I'm gonna talk to you right after. Okay.
All right, man.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Bye.